Chapter 253, The Autumn Wind Blows and the Flames Extinguished, 1. Shu Qing, you'll return to the villa with Elder Fong and Xiao Yu, said Wang Xian to Shu Qing and Xiao Yu when the sects and families gradually dispersed from the square in Wuduan Mountain. Xiao Xian, you, Shu Qing bit her tongue. Be careful. Don't worry. Wang Xian caressed Guan Shuqing's head with confidence. He beamed at sect leader Tang. I hope sect leader Tang can send them back. Rest assured, Miracle Dr. Wang. Sect leader Tang cupped his fist and assured him. Wang Xian nodded and waved goodbye to Guan Shuqing and Xiao Yu. Brother, come back soon. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Don't worry. Wang Xian smiled and nodded. Miracle Dr. Wang, do you intend to strike Flame Palace? After Xiao Yu and Guan Shuqing were gone, Maniac Ji looked at Wang Xian and asked with a solemn expression. Even if we don't, they'll still strike at us. Wang Xian smiled impassively. He turned to Mo Yuan. Where is the base camp of Flame Palace? We'll exterminate them today. At the foot of Fiery Rock Mountain, which is more than 100 kilometers away from here. Mo Yuan answered. Maniac Ji was a little taken aback when Wang Xian took it so easily when he said they were going to exterminate them. Let's go over there. Wang Xian did not have the slightest hesitation. Since he decided, he would execute immediately. Yes. Mo Yuan nodded. Shall we gather the disciples of Dragon's sect? No need. We're good enough. Wang Xian smiled, and Mo Yuan nodded. He immediately went to look for a vehicle. Master, just a few of us are going to strike an Emperor-class family? Isn't it too few of us? Miracle Dr. Bloodman at the side whispered his question to Sun Lingxiu. Following Xiao Xian will do, said Sun Lingxiu nonchalantly. Miracle Dr. Bloodman pouted and kept quiet. He stood respectfully by the side as he sized up Wang Xian and the rest. They had one more inborn expert, which made it 6 in total. To exterminate an Emperor-class force with 6 inborn experts was wishful thinking. The vehicle drove to Fiery Rock Mountain, which was a renowned mountain range of Dongqing province. Fiery Rock Mountain was a colossal active volcano. One could see the rising smoke in the sky from far away. The temperature was higher than in other regions by a few degrees. Volcanoes did not necessarily have magma rumbling underneath. In fact, many volcanoes had now turned into tourist attractions. Flame Palace Sacred Sect did not turn into one such scenic spot, but the scenery was not any inferior to the rest of the beautiful scenic spots. The base camp of Flame Palace is situated on the main peak. The surrounding mountains were for the elders and some disciples. There are 23 peaks in total, out of which, only the main one is connected to the underground volcano. I heard it is the sacred ground for the cultivation of their disciples. Mo Yuan did an introduction to Wang Xian as the vehicle entered the Flame City. As soon as they arrived in the city, they saw the volcanoes far away. Let's find a place to have dinner. We'll go over after sunset, Wang Xian said with a smile after looking at the time. Yes, Dragon King. Mo Yuan nodded as he instructed the driver to drive them to the best restaurant in Flame City. Flame City may have been a small city, but it came with a rich historical heritage. Flaming Flower Restaurant was the best restaurant in Flame City. All their dishes were put together with the various wild animals hunted from the volcano mountains. The group of 6 people went into the restaurant and sat in the main hall of the restaurant. Flaming Flower Restaurant may not have been big, but it looked posh. Sir, we serve the tastiest wild vegetables and meat here. Please try it. Wang Xian and the rest sat down, and the service staff served their dishes warmly not long after. Chinese cuisine is impressive. Miracle Dr. Bloodman sat beside Sun Lingxiu and put a thumb up to compliment. Hee, that's true. Chinese cuisine is the best in the world. Mo Yuan chuckled. Not only do we have delicacies, but we also have pretty girls too. At this time, a quirky voice was heard. It was a distinctive voice that sounded frivolous and dissolute. Her. Mo Yuan and Miracle Dr. Bloodman raised their eyebrows as soon as they heard the remark. They immediately turned to look over to their side. 10 odd-looking men. The 2 tables beside them sat queer people with 7 old men, 2 middle-aged men, and 1 young man. They were all foreigners. The 7 old men had big builds and wore oversized clothes. They exuded an extraordinary demeanor. The old men seemed to be people who had just come out from seclusion. The 2 middle-aged men were ordinary-looking. The young man who spoke was a blonde hunk. "Eat your food, and shut up. Stop disgracing the foreigners." When Miracle Dr. Bloodman noticed the blonde hunk was staring at his own master, he glowered at him. Hee. The blonde hunk did not mind him and giggled, "Chinese girls, good skin. Boss, bring all your best dishes here." Just then, a sharp voice was heard from the outside. "Coming. Gentlemen, this way please." Immediately, a middle-aged man in a suit greeted them quickly with reverence. "Gentlemen, please have a seat here." The restaurant manager quickly ushered the 4 people inside. "I heard the news from Wuduan Mountain that a fellow ruined our pilgrimage this time." "Yes, several elders already rushed over here. Even Palace Master found out about this." Hee, looks like someone is digging his own grave." The 4 gentlemen had outstanding bearings. They lifted their chins as though they were condescending someone as they discussed this briefly. Wang Xian and the group's attention was drawn by the conversations between the 4 young men. They turned around and ignored the young blonde foreigner. "Boss, get us some wine." A young man instructed the middle-aged man in front of him. "If he dares to offend us, he will need to pay a heavy price. We can establish our reputation at the same time." "That's right. Who within the 5 provinces dares to provoke us? He's obviously asking for it. I heard he's a factionless doctor." Huh. The 4 young men continued their conversations at a table beside Wang Xian and the rest, who smiled as they exchanged glances. The 4 young men must be disciples from Flame Palace. They enjoyed their drinks and exchanged conversations boomingly without any restraint. "I heard our Mu Wanwan was wounded. We must check her out tonight." Hee. This fellow is up to no good again. But Mu Wanwan was too haughty. "She's difficult. You should find yourself other targets." The young men were exchanging conversations when one of them spotted Sun Lingxiu suddenly. He was slightly stunned as a tinge of passion flashed in his eyes. The saying, "women are like disasters," was right. This was especially true for pretty ladies. That young man stood up in amazement. "Pretty, are you from Flame City?" Chapter 254, The Autumn Wind Blows and the Flames Extinguished, 2. Just as Sun Lingxiu was eating, a young man walked over and asked her a question directly. This made her knit her eyebrows a little. "Scram and go eat while you can, rascal." Seeing others offending his master again, Miracle Dr. Bloodman lifted his head and chided coldly. "Ha!" The response of Miracle Dr. Bloodman immediately stunned the Flame Palace disciple who came to strike a conversation. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He was a disciple of a sacred sect. Furthermore, the group was in their territory. How dare he call him a rascal? "You better choose your words wisely, foreigner. Otherwise, I'll make things difficult for you." The young man stared harshly at Miracle Dr. Bloodman and pointed at him. "You guys better be honest here. Otherwise, I'll let you know whose territory you are in." Hee. At this moment, an appropriate thing to say in Chinese would be "rescuing the damsel in distress." A voice with a similar accent to Miracle Dr. Bloodman's sounded once again. Following which, a palm suddenly appeared on the shoulder of the young man from Flame Palace. "Hey beauty, this guy is a crook. Now that I have taught him a lesson your behalf, are you going to pledge to marry me in gratitude?" The good-looking guy with blonde hair smiled and looked towards where Sun Lingxiu was. His lips curved into a smile as he gave Sun Lingxiu dirty looks. "You must be courting death." The young man from Flame Palace, whose shoulder was being held, growled angrily. He clenched his fist tightly and charged towards the good-looking guy with blonde hair. Arg! However, just as the young man threw a punch, his body suddenly started trembling violently. He stared at the good-looking guy with blonde hair in front of him with disbelief and shock. What the? How dare you cause troubles in our territory? Damn it! There are more and more people who wish to die here. The other disciples of Flame Palace stood up immediately and gave the good-looking guy with blonde hair an icy glare. Hee hee. Just a few trash and yet you dare to speak to me like this? The good-looking guy with blonde hair turned over and said mockingly. A strong aura swept quickly towards the 4 young men from Flame Palace. You! The 4 disciples from Flame Palace choked from the stifling pressure. Their faces turned red quickly as they could only stare at him with their eyes wide open. Scram! With a light push from the good-looking guy with blonde hair, the young man from Flame Palace was knocked back onto the chair behind him. The 4 disciples of Flame Palace were filled with fear and anger instantly as they could only stare with deadly looks at the good-looking guy with blonde hair. I love to see your angry looks. The good-looking golden hair looked at the 4 disciples of Flame Palace as though he was admiring a piece of art. In a light-hearted tone, he continued, but I'd love to see your despairing looks even more. Oh! This should be quick. Hang Wang, it's time to go. At this moment, an old man a short distance away spoke plainly to the good-looking guy with blonde hair. You don't even allow me to enjoy myself a little. The good-looking guy with blonde hair smiled at them, turned around and said to Sun Lingxiu, Hey beauty, I saved you a while ago. Aren't you going to pledge to marry me? As he spoke, he tapped once at the void space between them before leaving with the group of old and middle-aged men. Behind them, the 4 disciples of Flame Palace glowered at them but didn't dare to give chase. The stifling pressure they felt from the young man with blonde hair had made them experience fear. Interesting. Wang Xian looked at the 10 foreigners before turning to Sun Lingxiu. Sun Lingxiu's eyes lit up as she lifted her right hand and grabbed something off her body. A red flame appeared in her hand. Do you recognize them? She looked to Miracle Dr. Blood Man beside her and asked. This mark? Miracle Dr. Blood Man frowned slightly and answered, Flame. There are a few Emperor-class forces internationally that specialize in flames. From how they addressed the young man with blonde hair, he must be Heng Wang from the Fire God denomination. He frowned and squinted his eyes at the disappearing figures of old and middle-aged men. They are all inborn realm experts, commented Wang Xian plainly. What? Mo Yuan, Maniac G, and the others were shocked. All of them are inborn realm experts. There are 10 of them. What are they here for? Mo Qinglong frowned and mumbled. Wang Xian looked at the embarrassed and furious disciples from Flame Palace leaving with gloomy expressions before he smirked and said, It should be related to the Flame Palace. Moreover, they aren't friendly. They aren't friendly. Mo Qinglong and the rest were shocked and quickly sank into thoughts. I know a little about the Fire God denomination. They aren't any weaker than our sacred sects. In fact, they are a lot stronger than the newly crowned sacred sect. They are here for. Doubts surfaced on Mo Qinglong's face. Perhaps. Tonight will be an interesting night, replied Wang Xian with a laugh. How dare he place a tracking flame on my master? If I see the blonde rascal again, I will kill him. Miracle Dr. Blood Man spoke with intense killing intent. Night. The summer had passed and the autumn wind was soughing. The fiery rock mountain was still glowing in a faint light. It was especially so at the main peak. At night, the volcano was shrouded in a red glow that made it exceptionally beautiful. 6 figures descended on a tree 1,000 meters from the entrance silently and waited patiently. Miracle Dr. Wang, it's already 9 p.m. Let's split up to ambush and kill the elders on each peak before they guard against us. Even if we can't annihilate the Flame Palace, we can also make them suffer grave losses. Maniac G looked at Wang Xian and suggested. No rush. Let's wait and see. Wang Xian waved his hand at him. He continued standing silently while staring at Flame Palace. Maniac G was confused but still waited patiently. Time passed slowly and it was soon 10 p.m. Suddenly, 10 figures appeared from afar. They were moving rapidly like a gust of wind and carried with them an intense and violent aura. It's them. The 10 inborn experts from the restaurant. They are indeed here. Maniac G looked solemnly across at the 10 inborn experts. The 10 of them didn't attempt to hide themselves at all. Each of the 10 figures was glowing and approaching the Flame Palace like a meteor. How arrogant of them to charge into the Flame Palace so openly. What are they trying to do? Mo Qinglong frowned and asked. Huayu of Flame Palace and Shenghua. Get here right away. How dare you guys steal the treasure of our fire god denomination? Today, we will definitely annihilate the entire Flame Palace. A majestic voice propagated throughout the entire Flame Palace and resounded within the fiery rock mountain. A small Flame Palace stole the treasures of fire god denomination to become a sacred sect in the east. Hee. Today, we will annihilate you. A brazen voice sounded once again. In the skies above the main peak, the figures of the 10 inborn experts from the fire god denomination were well illuminated by the flames they emitted. Wings made of flames sprouted behind their backs. 10 of them had completely sealed off the entire Flame Palace. They weren't concerned about Flame Palace having more inborn experts than them at all. Neither were they fearful of Flame Palace. An arrogant, domineering and majestic voice and aura shrouded the entire Flame Palace. Chapter 255, The Autumn Wind Blows and the Flames Extinguished, 3. Who is it? Who dares to play punk in Flame Palace? Who is it? Who dares to clamor at sacred sect? The resounding voice shook up the entire Flame Palace. All the disciples walked out of their rooms as they bellowed in anger. They enjoyed the utmost glory after they were promoted from a first-class force to a sacred sect. Everyone treated disciples of Flame Palace with respect, and none of them dared to be rude to them. Now, someone dared to talk big at the Flame Palace. That was as good as digging their own graves. Gosh, there are 10 people in the air. Every Flame Palace disciple was surprised as they looked up towards the main peak. It's true. 10 people with huge flaming wings on their backs. They are inborn experts. 10 inborn experts. Gosh, 10 of them. So what? We have 14 inborn experts guarding the Flame Palace now, all the disciples said with trepidation as they looked over. Who dares to play punk in Flame Palace? Fire God denomination. How dare you barge onto the sacred ground of Flame Palace? You guys definitely have a death wish. One by one, figures sprouted out from each of the peaks, shouting at the 10 inborn experts of Fire God denomination in the sky. Fire God denomination, any capable man can retrieve the spiritual treasures. How dare you barge into Flame Palace with just 10 people? I guess you're here to die. An old man's voice cut the air from the main peak. He had a pair of enormous wings behind him, and he held a flaming spear as though he was a flame warrior. I didn't think you guys would chase all the way here. Looks like you're not giving up. Xinghua's voice was heard too. He flapped the glowing feathered wings and glowered at the people from Fire God denomination. He then flapped towards the palace master of Flame Palace. Flame Palace experts arrived at the back of their palace master. Instantly, 14 inborn experts stood at the back and glared at the Fire God denomination in front of them with sharp and cold eyes. Get out of Flame Palace now. Otherwise, leave your bodies here. Palace Master of Flame Palace, who was in the center spot, glared with a pair of cold eyes. He fixed his eyes on the 10 people with seriousness climbing all over his face. We'll leave after we annihilate you people. One of the old men from the Fire God denomination in the middle chuckled with a ghastly sound. How dare you steal our things and kill a Prince Realm expert? Today, I'll use your flesh and blood as offerings to him. I see. You're here to offer us your lives. Do you think you can annihilate us with just 10 people? The Flame Palace is fearless even if you send the entire Fire God denomination over. Palace Master of Flame Palace looked fixedly at them with a darkened expression. All of you are trash. 5 exploratory Inborn experts. I can kill 2 without any problem. Why do we need the entire Fire God denomination here? The blonde-haired young man at the side was looking cool. He stared at the elders of Flame Palace insolently. Kill them all and reclaim our treasures. The old man in the lead stopped the useless talking and made a swift move. His movement was accompanied by a powerful flame that struck directly at the Palace Master of Flame Palace. Kill! Palace Master and Shenghua had awful looks when they saw 10 experts charging at them. They knew the strength of Fire God denomination. Therefore, they had grave expressions. Besiege and wipe them out. The Palace Master bellowed and made a move. His body was shrouded in flames as he darted out to attack the old man at the center. How dare an insignificant pinnacle inborn create a sacred sect? Die! The old man in the middle jerked, and a virtual image of a fire demon appeared on him. The fire demon that was formed with flames encompassed the old man who grew 3 meters tall. Go to hell! The old man swung his enormous fist with daunting strength at the Palace Master. So strong! He raised his flaming spear to block, but he was pushed back a dozen meters. Palace Master had a sharp change in his expression as his eyes were filled with horror. Ah! Yet a desperate scream was heard from the side in that instant. A blue flame shrouded a Flame Palace elder. The creepy blue flame burnt that elder immediately. The elder tried to use his flaming ability to counterattack. But his fiery red flame seemed like a stimulant that ignited a bigger blue fire. A horrifying scream struck consternation in all the people in Flame Palace. In an instant, an elder of Flame Palace was seriously wounded or probably dead. All these things happened in a split second. How is this possible? How could they kill an elder in an instant? It's a raid. They are sneaking an attack. When our Palace Master realizes it, they can wipe us out even if it's 10 against 13. All the disciples of Flame Palace exclaimed from below. They found it unbelievable that a dozen inborn experts of Flame Palace could not defend the other party with 10 inborn experts. Heavenly Flame! Palace Master was shocked as his expression turned grave immediately. How dare you steal our spiritual treasures? I'll make sure the Flame Palace is wiped out today. The old man who displayed the heavenly flame was looking cold. The blue-colored flame was burning around him. Even the air gave off a loud sound. Make it quick and kill them all. An old man from Fire God denomination shouted as he burst into a giant ball of fire. His entire body was on fire. He swung his arm and blasted a basketball-sized fireball at the Flame Palace elder in front of him. The Flame Palace elder wielded his machete and hacked the ball of fire. Bam! However, metal-like fire droplets fired off a radius of 100 meters from the exploded ball of fire. Ah! At the same time, the disciples of Flame Palace screamed in horror from below. The fire droplets penetrated level 7 and 8 martial artists, and the mightiness of the fire struck terror into them. The spillover fire from the combat burned the surrounding woods. Oh, no! Palace Master and the elders had the shock of their lives. The moment their opponent struck, their hearts already skipped a beat. Go to hell! The blonde-haired young man held a red scepter, firing off tongues of blazing flames at the elders of Flame Palace. Terrifying stance. Ho! Flame Palace elders held their weapons and slashed those flames. Kill them all. How dare a reserved place snatch Fire God denomination's staff? Die! At this time, one middle-aged man from Fire God denomination picked up his flaming spear and sprinted over. The blazing fire was burning atop Flame Palace. Such a sight was spectacular from afar. The gap is huge. As a force for 100 years, Fire God denomination is definitely far more powerful than the Flame Palace. These 10 experts from Fire God denomination were inborn experts with a strong foundation. Those exploratory and born experts from Flame Palace could not hold a candle to them. "The Flame Palace is going down soon," said Maniac Ji and Imo Yuan shockingly as Wang Xian and the rest witnessed this from far. "Heavenly Flame, looks like we have a lot of good stuff here." A tinge of red sparks flashed in Wang Xian's eyes as he was ebullient. "I haven't struck for a long time." Chapter 256, The Autumn Wind Blows and the Flames Extinguished, 4. Arg! So strong! How could this group of people be that strong? The heat emitted by that blue flame is really spooky. Shit! Elder Lu is hit and injured. Should we run? Should we? Fiery Rock Mountain, Flame Palace. At this moment, it was as though Armageddon had descended on Flame Palace. In the skies, inborn experts were engaged in intense battles. Flames were raging and illuminated the skies. The shockwaves from the battles of inborn experts affected the entire Flame Palace. Sparks were fluttering. Scorching hot fire dripped down like melted metal. Even a level 7 and 8 martial artist had to dodge carefully. Blue flames were shot out from the sky. Once in contact, it would quickly reduce everything to ashes. In the air, the elders of Flame Palace were injured one after another. The disciples watched from below in shock and disbelief. They were from the sacred sect. A newly crowned sacred sect. They were supposed to be the strongest and the highest-tiered existence around. However, a group of foreigners had barged in and was slowly annihilating them. How could this be happening? Fire God denomination. Get lost from our Flame Palace immediately or none of you are getting away. The Palace Master of Flame Place stared intensely at the group in front of him and growled loudly as he started noticing his elders falling one after another due to grave injuries. Hua Tu, you have to pay the price for stealing the spiritual treasure of the Fire God denomination. Not letting us leave. You aren't that capable yet. Opposite the Palace Master of Flame Palace, the old man covered in 3-meter-tall flame remarked coldly. Today, I'll not let anyone in Flame Palace get away. Arg! While the old man was speaking, another shriek of pain sounded from the side. The Palace Master of Flame Palace looked bitterly to his left. You guys deserve death. Anger filled his eyes as he witnessed an elder hit by the blue flame and slowly reduced to ashes. In just 10 minutes, 3 elders were severely injured and 1 was killed. If this went on, the Flame Palace may very well be annihilated. The Palace Master of Flame Palace gritted his teeth and the long spear in his hand shivered with his body. He declared solemnly, since you guys are eager to die, I shall grant you the wish. Swish! A human head-sized ball flew out of the Flame Palace suddenly. In the night skies, it was just like the scorching hot sun. None of you are getting away after killing an elder from the Flame Palace. The human head-sized flame ball flew above him and emitted a scorching hot radiance. Spiritual Flame Ball. It's the body-refining spiritual flame ball. The group of experts from the Fire God denomination stared at the spiritual flame ball above the Palace Master of Flame Palace fervently. Body-refining spiritual flame ball. It could refine the bodies of fire cultivators and trigger resonance. It could also increase the battle prowess of fire cultivators. Hua Tu, this is the spiritual treasure you have stolen from the Fire God denomination. The old man opposite the Palace Master of Flame Palace stared at that body-refining spiritual flame ball intensely. Spiritual treasures can be possessed by any capable person. The Palace Master of Flame Palace laughed wildly before staring coldly at the group. Killing a Prince Realm expert from the Fire God denomination, stealing our spiritual flame ball. Do you think we will let you off? The old man shrouded in giant flames smirked and remarked, do you think we have come unprepared? A sacred sect that has been established for over 100 years isn't something a small flame palace like yours could imagine. You are digging your own grave. The young man with blonde hair laughed hysterically. He opened up his palm and a fist-sized ball was revealed on his palm. The ball seemed to have been sealed by a lava-like object. Dense flames flooded into the ball. At this moment, cracks started appearing on the exterior layer of the ball and a violent aura started emanating from it. Lava ball. This is a lava ball that was formed 100 meters below the lava. Today, I will reduce you to ashes with it. Heng Wang revealed a thrilled look. There seemed to be lava flowing on the surface of the lava ball. In an instant, the surrounding temperature increased by several dozens of degrees. Luckily, everyone around was a fire cultivator. If they were ordinary men, they would likely be roasted to death by the high temperature. Die! Heng Wang waved his hand and the lava ball was thrown towards the Palace Master of Flame Palace at an astonishing speed. Ha! When the Palace Master of Flame Palace saw the ball that was emitting astonishing heat, his face sank and he growled loudly, "Break!" His body shivered and flames started flowing into his body through his head from the body-refining spiritual flame ball. Flames circulated in his body before appearing in his hands. A 4 to 5 meters thick fire pillar shot towards the lava ball. Kill! The instant the Palace Master of Flame Palace stopped the lava ball, the old man opposite him immediately attacked. Kill! 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 The group of experts from the Fire God denomination launched their attack once again as strong and horrifying powers shrouded the skies. Flames were raging, and dangers were everywhere. Run, we've got to run. Our Flame Palace. Our Flame Palace might really be finished. On the ground, seeing that the Palace Master of Flame Palace was being besieged once again, the faces of the group of disciples turned as white as sheets and perspiration started streaming down their faces. Some disciples who weren't as brave had already started fleeing silently. Arg! Arg! Suddenly, 2 shrieks pierced the atmosphere. When the disciples looked over, fear gripped them immediately. Miracle Dr. Shenghua and another elder were slain. 4 elders were severely injured and on the brink of death while 3 others had been killed. The Flame Palace's situation was perilous. If it wasn't for the spiritual flame ball above the Palace Master's head that allowed him to fight with 3 experts at the same time, Flame Palace would have likely been defeated by now. The Palace Master can't hold on for much longer. An attendant of the Fire Palace shivered in fear upon seeing his Palace Master being besieged by several experts. Run! Shrieks of horror sounded from everywhere. He gritted his teeth and started fleeing. Run! When the first person started fleeing, more and more followed. This made the group of elders of the Flame Palace extremely embarrassed. However, they couldn't say anything. Battles between inborn experts weren't something they could interfere with. Ha! All of you shall die. In the skies, an expert from the Fire God denomination flapped his fire wings rapidly and violently. Flames started dripping down towards the escaping disciples. Arg arg arg! In just an instant, more than a dozen disciples were hit as they cried out pitifully. Run! Quick! Run! The entire Flame Palace was thrown into turmoil. Everyone was trying to flee and cries could be heard everywhere. It was as though it was the end of the world. In the skies, the elders of the Flame Palace shivered in fear. They weren't a match for their opponents at all. Palace Master! Who have you offended? The elders of the Flame Palace were devastated. Palace Master Huatu, we have joined Flame Palace for protection, not to seek our doom. Please forgive us for not being able to stay with the Flame Palace. At this moment, 2 inborn experts started fleeing, to the astonishment of Flame Palace. Scumbags! The Palace Master of the Flame Palace shivered in anger as he witnessed 2 inborn experts that had joined them previously fleeing. Flame Palace is finished. Chapter 257, Dragon Ball vs. Flames, 1. Flame Palace is finished. The group of 6 remarked softly when they saw the chaotic Flame Palace and the fleeing disciples from afar. This could be the most tragic sacred sect, since they got annihilated as soon as they were promoted. Miracle Dr. Bloodman gloated over their misfortune. Fire God denomination is much more domineering than Flame Palace. After all, they are just a newly promoted sacred sect. If they were long-time sacred sects like Sword Celestial, Bodhimanda, or Medical Saint, Fire God denomination would not dare to barge in like this, said Mo Yuan at the side. Fire God denomination wouldn't dare to storm in with arrogance like this if they were medical saint sects, not to mention sects like Sword Celestial and Bodhimanda. I bet they would be killed by all the poisonous stuff at the doorstep before they even entered. Flame Palace is still too weak. Otherwise, they wouldn't have recruited experts and disciples through pilgrimage, Mo Qinglong commented nonchalantly. Sacred sects had a mixture of strong and weak sections. Medical Saint sect was one of the strongest ones. Without any guidance from the Medical Saint disciples, anyone who wished to enter the base camp of Medical Saint sect, Medical Saint Mountain, would be eliminated by their defense at the door. Just that alone was good enough to kill dozens of inborn experts. In comparison, a sacred sect like Flame Palace that had no foundation would not have set up any defense at the entrance. Any inborn experts could enter easily. Palace Master of Flame Palace is in danger. Just then, Maniac G was slightly shocked, looking ahead. Comparing himself with the people in combat, his strength still differed by a lot. He was not a match for any experts from Fire God denomination. He's doomed. Wang Xian looked over. After the two new inborn experts members of Flame Palace escaped, they were left with 5 people. 5 against 10, and they were not a match even when it was one-on-one. 5 Fire God denomination experts besieged the Palace Master alone. The Palace Master is indeed formidable as he managed to survive for so long under the attacks of 5 experts. It is no wonder that he could bring Flame Palace a step higher to become a sacred sect. Maniac G exclaimed. With the spiritual flame ball above the daunting Flame Palace Master, his combat ability was domineering to fight 1 against 5. But it was only a matter of time before the defeat. I cannot accept it. Flame Palace was just promoted to become a sacred sect. I cannot accept this. All of a sudden, the Palace Master's despairing and unwilling voice was heard from Flame Palace. Boom! An intense explosion resounded in the earth. The Palace Master, who was putting up fierce resistance, suddenly burst into flame. A Fire God denomination expert did not manage to dodge in time and got hit by it. Immense fire shredded the body of that expert into pieces instantly. Alpha! A Fire God denomination expert was looking gloomy. Take that body refining spiritual flame ball with us. That thing is of great use to Fire God denomination. Search around and see if they have other treasures in the Flame Palace. Darn it! We lost a Prince Realm expert. The group of Fire God denomination experts bellowed with a nasty look as their voices traveled several kilometers. Run now! Even the Palace Master is dead now. We're finished. The Flame Palace has completely fallen. How did this happen? I just joined Flame Palace Sacred Sect. How can a sacred sect be annihilated? Some of the Flame Palace disciples could not believe it as they fled frantically. The group of Fire God denomination experts darkened their expressions as they swung their arms. Tongues of intense flames fired off at the surrounding Flame Palace disciples. Miserable voices were heard again. The end of Flame Palace had finally arrived. Wang Xian and his people did not strike at all. They were here to exterminate Flame Palace, but someone had done the job for them. Let's go. How dare they came to our territory and play punk. I'll make sure they are buried under this ground forever. When Flame Palace was utterly destroyed, Wang Xian saw a group of experts from Fire God denomination rounding up the treasures within Flame Palace. He then jumped down from the tree with a smile. Young master, there must be a lot of treasures within Flame Palace. I bet those Fire God denomination experts have good stuff with them too. Mo Qinglong chuckled as he followed behind. What? Are we striking at the 9 people from Fire God denomination? We're not their match. Miracle Dr. Bloodman quickly remarked after hearing Mo Qinglong. I can handle at most 1 person. My master can handle 2. What about you guys? Miracle Dr. Bloodman looked at Mo Qinglong, Mo Yuan, Maniac G as he said, we can't beat them. Maniac G frowned slightly as he cast a glance at Wang Xian with doubts. Leave it to me. I haven't fought for a long time. Wang Xian smiled as he headed to the entrance without haste. They came to a path where Wang Xian stood in the middle. He opened his mouth slightly, and a fiery red fireball appeared in his hand. I wonder which is stronger, my Dragon Ball or their flame. He arched his lips. This fire Dragon Ball was nurtured all the time. Hence, its power could kill an inborn expert. If I can absorb the lava ball of fire god denomination and body refining spiritual flame ball of flame palace, the power of Dragon Ball will increase another level. Wang Xian revealed a smile on his face as he stood and waited for them to be out. When Miracle Dr. Blood Man and Maniac G saw Wang Xian spit out a ball of fire, they were taken aback. They gasped when they sensed the daunting amount of energy contained in the flame. Miracle Dr. Wang is a cultivator of flame too? Miracle Dr. Blood Man asked with radiance flickering in his eyes. Run. Let's flee now. We need to get out of here. Just then, a few figures rushed towards their side with haste. Fear and panic were all over their faces. There's someone ahead. Get lost, you people. Darn, get out of my way. Do you want to die? About 8 or 9 Flame Palace disciples were looking frightful and malevolent. When they saw the 6 people blocking the path, they took the weapons in their hands and hacked at them immediately. Get out of my way. Several people bellowed with no signs of reducing their speed. Oh? Seem like someone we know. Wang Xian cast a glance over and saw the 4 young men they had met in the afternoon. At the same time, Mu Wanwan and a few of her friends were following beside them. Hayak, a bunch of losers digging their own graves. Upon seeing them charging over, Miracle Dr. Blood Man found them funny. With an arm swing, he fired thick blood at them. It's them. Oh no, inborn experts. The bunch of people who were charging over froze for a moment. Instantly, they were struck down on the floor by the blood. Fear was the only thing left in them. How is this possible? Why are they? The moment they fell onto the ground, their eyes were filled with remorse. Trash! Miracle Dr. Blood Man said indifferently. Wang Xian cast a glance at the flame palace deep in the mountain with a pair of abstruse eyes. After 15 minutes, 9 figures showed up, walking towards them without haste. Wang Xian held his Dragon Ball in his hand, drawing his lips slightly. Chapter 258, Dragon Ball vs. Flames, 2. Flame Palace is really trash. They only have 1,000+ spiritual stones. They have spent all their spiritual stones on increasing the ability of the body refining spiritual flame ball. They barely have any spiritual medicine left. For a sacred sect to be this poor. They are really trash. At the entrance of Flame Palace, a few mocking voices sounded. The 9 of them each carried something as they walked out slowly. Ha! Suddenly, the 9 of them stopped. They squinted their eyes and looked ahead of them. 6 people. 6 figures were standing at the entrance and seemed to be waiting for them. Isn't that the beautiful girl from the restaurant? Heng Wang, who was standing at the right of the group, saw Sun Lingxiu and was surprised. Pretty. Are you here to offer yourself to me? Look. Take a look at how attractive I am. An arrogant voice sounded from Heng Wang as he scrutinized Sun Lingxiu from head to toe with vile eyes. Those are the people we met in the afternoon. An old man looked at the group of people in front of him and was baffled. Eventually, his gaze landed on Miracle Dr. Blood Man. Due to the cultivation arts, he wasn't able to tell the level of Wang Xian and the group. However, he was able to get some clues from Miracle Dr. Blood Man. He seems to be a vampire. As such, the remaining people shouldn't be ordinary either. How dare they wait for us here? The group of people from the Fire God denomination squinted their eyes and looked at Wang Xian's group coldly. Since you dare to kill on our land, are you all prepared to be buried here forever? Wang Xian looked plainly at them while scrutinizing the 9 of them. To wait for us here after seeing us in action. It seems like you guys are pretty brave. The old man in the center of the group stared emotionlessly at Wang Xian and flames had started flowing in his hands. Hee. We aren't as brave as you guys to come to our land and annihilate an entire sect. When Wang Xian saw them carrying something in the back, his smile grew deeper. That's nice of you to pack the treasures nicely for us. Brat, you must be seeking your own demise, the old man in the middle growled angrily. A ball of flames appeared in his hand as he launched his attack towards Wang Xian. Wang Xian was unmoved. With a flick of his finger, the dragon ball appeared in front of him. Rumble. The flames were absorbed immediately by the dragon ball the instant the flames landed on it. Ha! A fire attribute spiritual treasure. When the old man saw the dragon ball that absorbed the flames, his eyes lit up. Spiritual treasure. Huh. It's a fire attribute spiritual treasure. It seems like we are really in luck. Heng Wang saw the dragon ball suspended in the air and got excited immediately. Flame Palace has few treasures. This spiritual treasure would make up for it nicely. The old man stared at it fervently. Stretching his hand forward, flames shrouded over. The flames formed a claw made of fire as it grabbed towards the dragon ball. Annihilate all of them. A middle-aged man beside the old man charged ahead enthusiastically and attacked the group. Leave that beautiful girl to me. I've got to teach her a good lesson. Heng Wang's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. The next instant, he charged towards Sun Lingxiu with desecrating eyes. Interesting. How arrogant are they? Wang Xian was clearly getting excited. Stay behind, guys. Let me handle this. Wang Xian was currently level 7. In his human form, his strength could match Dan realm experts, which was above the inborn realm. Up to this point, he had never fought with any human inborn experts. Nonetheless, he could easily kill inborn level creatures in the sea with a single strike. Wang Xian stood there without moving. The dragon ball in front of him started glowing dazzlingly under his control. Xiao Xian, leave that young man with blonde hair to me. Sun Lingxiu shouted to Wang Xian suddenly. All right. Wang Xian was slightly shocked initially. However, eventually, he simply nodded his head as a response to Sun Lingxiu. It seems like that young man with blonde hair has really infuriated Sun Lingxiu. What a strong spiritual treasure. When the group from the Fire God denomination saw the dazzling glow and felt the scorching heat from the dragon ball, they were shocked. We must definitely get it. Don't let them escape, an old man from Fire God denomination reminded the group loudly and enthusiastically. Rest assured. None of them are getting away. An old man flapped his blue fire wings behind him and shifted to the side. The other experts of the Fire God denomination also flapped their wings at the same time, forming a circle around Wang Xian. In their eyes, they were the hunters. The other party was simply their prey. How arrogant and brazen. Wang Xian revealed a cold look upon seeing the experts from Fire God denomination getting ready to hunt him. Roar! At this moment, a dragon roar pierced through the atmosphere. The surrounding experts from the Fire God denomination looked on in disbelief. The dragon ball that was glowing dazzlingly was transforming slowly into a fire divine dragon. A fire divine dragon from the legends of the Chinese. The divine dragon was 5 meters long and vivid. At the same time, it was emanating horrifying dragon aura. What? This is. What a horrifying spiritual treasure. What a powerful fire attribute spiritual treasure. Oh my god. It can transform into a divine dragon. All 9 experts from the Fire God denomination stared fervently at that fire divine dragon. It was no different from a living thing. Even its eyes were extremely lively. Maniac G and Miracle Dr. Bloodman, who were standing beside Wang Xian previously, were greatly shaken as they stared blankly at the divine dragon. Kill! Kill it! the experts of the fire god denomination weren't wary at all. Instead, they charged over hysterically. We must definitely get that spiritual treasure. Hung Wang clenched his fist tightly and charged ahead. Your opponent is me. A soft and crisp voice sounded from Sun Lingxiu. Dense light energy emanated from her body. An arrow made of light energy appeared out of nowhere and shot towards Hung Wang. Swish! The speed of the arrow was incomparably fast. The speed of light attacks could easily match or exceed the speed of wind. The light attack disappeared in the blink of an eye. What? Hung Wang, who was shrouded in flames, was completely caught by surprise as the arrow made of light energy appeared right in front of him in an instant. He crossed his wings rapidly in front of him. Arg! However, the arrow made of light pierced through the fire wings and into his body directly. He let out a cry in pain. How is this possible? Hung Wang couldn't believe what had happened. Blood oozed out from the edge of his mouth as he stared with a deadly look at Sun Lingxiu. Blonde trash, how dare you taunt my master? You really don't know where you stand. Miracle Dr. Bloodman was cockily satisfied upon seeing his master severely injuring Hung Wang with a single blow. Be careful. Kill. The old man in the center looked at Sun Lingxiu before reminding the group solemnly. Roar. At this moment, the fire divine dragon roared. Its 5-meter-long body flew in circles in the air as it attacked the group of experts from the fire god denomination. Chapter 259, Dragon Ball vs. Flames, 3. Do you think you can stand against us with just that spiritual treasure of yours? With a pair of icy cold eyes, the old man who was giving off blue flames jerked as soon as he saw the imposing fire divine dragon. His blue flames formed into a long spear, bursting with fire and fiery edges. Let me slay the dragon. The old man wielded his spear and thrust at the fire divine dragon. When Wang Xian saw the old man striking at the Dragon Ball, he sneered. The Dragon Ball was almost part of his body after his nurturing. As such, the Dragon Ball possessed part of the mightiness from Divine Dragon under his control. The Fire Divine Dragon did not only have the look of a dragon, but it possessed the soul of a divine dragon. Roar! The Fire Divine Dragon stared at the old man in blue flames with a disdainful look in the corner of its eye. Immediately, it swept its tail at him. Humph, an illusory divine dragon will only restore into its original form with my sapphire flame. Blue flames continued to flicker in the eyes of the old man. He hurled the long navy spear in his hand at the dragon tail immediately. Pop, pop, pop. Suddenly, loud crisp sounds were heard. The navy flaming spear fell onto the tail like an egg bashing itself on a rock. The mighty dragon tail broke the spear instantly, sweeping at the old man forcefully. What? That old man was appalled. Oh no, block it. The rest of the fire god denomination experts around him were looking slightly surprised. They fired off tongues of flames at the fire divine dragon. 2 of the experts even charged at Wang Xian. Roar! Fire Divine Dragon exhibited a contemptuous look in its eyes as it swept its invincible dragon tail. Bam! The strong fire dragon tail hit the old man with blue flames. The daunting dragon energy immediately sent him flying off, along with his agape eyes. What? The rest of the fire god denomination experts were horrified. Roar! But before they could react, the fire divine dragon spun around and hurled dragon flames at the 2 experts who tried to assault Wang Xian. What a daunting flame! The 2 fire god denomination experts were aghast as they quickly dodged to somewhere far away. The tongues of flame hit the ground, causing the ground to have a 5-meter-long crack with dragon flame ignited everywhere. What a terrifying spiritual treasure! Is this even possible? The 2 fire god denomination experts who escaped had a dreadful look as they looked at the fissure on the ground. Penetrating light. Just then, a gentle and noble voice was heard. What? Hung Wang's horrified voice cut the surrounding air, attracting all the attention of the fire god denomination experts. They saw that Hung Wang had the lava ball in front of him. He was holding the lava ball with both his hands, forming a flaming shield with immense fire on it. The shield was blocking the beams of lights that looked like the aurora. The light rays were like inexhaustible domineering lasers passing through the flaming shield. The shield was quickly dissolving at a rate visible to the naked eye. What a formidable lady! Every fire god denomination expert was aghast. Heng Wang might have been the weakest among them all, but with the lava ball in possession, his strength was equivalent to the strongest one in the group. Yet, Heng Wang was forced to use lava ball as a defense in such a short time. Moreover, he was completely suppressed now. Die! Wang Xian cast a glance at Sun Lingxiu with a smile. With the fire divine dragon under his control, the dragon scratched one fire god denomination expert with its dragon claws. Mighty dragon claws about half a meter long seemed like they were tearing the void. Boom! Die! That fire god denomination expert wrapped himself with a pair of fire wings. The flame burst into a sword, thrusting at the dragon claws. Caw caw caw. However, the sword was grabbed by the dragon claws tightly. Ah! A horrifying shriek was heard. Before any blood could drip, it was already dissipated in the air. Boundless might struck unlimited terror in them. No way! The fire god denomination experts were in disbelief. The guy only had a spiritual treasure which had transformed into a fire divine dragon. But the dragon severely injured and killed 2 of their men. They were top-notch and born experts. Moreover, there were another 5 people from their group who had not yet made their moves. Besiege and kill that divine dragon first. An old man bawled and wrapped himself with flames. Subsequently, he turned into a 3-meter flaming giant. Another 5 fire god denomination experts surrounded the divine dragon immediately. The fireballs they fired were absorbed by the fire divine dragon immediately. The fire rings that they chained on the neck of the dragon were melted straight away. The dragon ball was nurtured by the origin source of flame. No ordinary flames can destroy it. The blue flame just now was able to counter the fire divine dragon, but he is simply too weak. Wang Xian watched with a smile. Miracle Dr. Bloodman and Maniac Ji by his side were stupefied by what they saw. A fire divine dragon transformed from a ball spat out from Wang Xian's mouth could easily fight against 8 experts from fire god denomination. Is he still a human? God damn it! He's domineering. No wonder my master is fond of him. He's too strong. Miracle Dr. Bloodman muttered as he was dumbfounded. He turned around and looked at his master. Screw this golden-haired lad. How dare he tease my master? Now he's scared stiff. Miracle Dr. Bloodman yelled with a contemptuous face as he saw Heng Wang holding his lava ball in defense of the penetrating lights, sweating. Upon hearing Miracle Dr. Bloodman, terror surfaced in Heng Wang's eyes. He could not have imagined that this holy and beautiful-looking girl would be such a terrifying person. He had wanted to follow his tracker later at night to abduct her and make her his concubine after annihilating Flame Palace. But now, he only had fear and despair. If it were not for the lava ball, he could have been penetrated by those daunting lights and been completely purified. Purify! However, he heard a pleasant voice when his thoughts were running wild. The voice sounded like a devil's call from hell. He stared with wide-open eyes. Suddenly, the beams of light in front of him quickly gathered and formed into the head of a light divine dragon. The enormous head of the light divine dragon bit him straight away. No! Terror and remorse were heard from his scream as Heng Wang was swallowed by it. The fist-sized lava ball fell onto the ground. The head of the light divine dragon and Heng Wang disappeared. Heng Wang was completely purified. Dragon incineration. At this time, Wang Xian let out a soft bellow. The fire divine dragon in front rolled its body with immense fire encompassing a radius of more than 10 meters. The entire region turned into fire divine dragon's territory as it rolled itself. Shrieks and screams of disbelief were heard. The 10 of them had annihilated dozens of inborn experts of Flame Palace. Yet they were exterminated by one person with a spiritual treasure. Since when did China have such a formidable existence? Chapter 260, Generous Spoils of War. Flames raged and a fire divine dragon flew in circles around them. The surrounding grass and trees had all perished. Roar! The fire divine dragon let out a roar, turned over gradually and looked to Wang Xian. Moving his huge dragon body, he flew towards Wang Xian directly. Wang Xian stretched out his hand. The fire divine dragon turned back into the dragon ball and landed on his hand. Silence returned to the surroundings once again. The autumn wind was soughing and the flame palace had been annihilated. Only an old man among the group of experts from the fire god denomination was left lying on the floor. As for the rest, they had been reduced to ashes. At a location a short distance away, there were various bags. Inside the bags were treasures that the fire god denomination had looted from the flame palace. My master is incredible. The idol of my master is domineering and imposing. Miracle Dr. Bloodman chanted loudly. No one knew where he had learnt these phrases from. Young master, let us go get the treasures. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan commented before moving forward to grab the bags. Even if the Dragon King could shatter the sky or crush the land, they wouldn't be surprised. In their hearts, the Dragon King was invincible. Wang Xian nodded his head as he looked at the lava ball that had fallen to the ground in front of him. The dragon ball in his hand flew above the lava ball and sucked it up. The dragon ball was devouring the lava ball gradually as they slowly fused. The glow of the dragon ball grew even brighter and one could vaguely sense a divine dragon moving around him. Under the control of Wang Xian, the dragon ball flew to where the old man with blue flames was. Flames spewed over and the body of the old man was reduced to ashes. However, a fist-sized blue flame remained suspended in the air. This blue flame is really powerful. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment before drawing the blue flame towards himself with the dragon ball. Heavenly Flame, Tranquil Blue Flame, Level 9. A Level 9 flame. No wonder it could resist the Level 10 Dragon Ball. When Wang Xian looked at the ball of Heavenly Flame, he was slightly shocked. He hesitated for a moment and didn't let the Dragon Ball absorb it. If the Dragon Ball absorbed it, it would vanish completely. This wouldn't bring much incremental increase in strength to the Dragon Ball. Its effectiveness would be even worse than the Lava Ball. When the Dragon Ball fused with the Lava Ball, it would retain the effects of the Lava Ball. However, absorbing the Heavenly Flame wouldn't be the same. The flames of the Dragon Ball were very similar to the origin source. All other types of flames could be absorbed by it. Young master, we found quite an amount of treasures. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan carried over the treasures that had been gathered by the group from the fire god denomination. Approximately 1,500 spiritual stones, 3 tufts of level 6 spiritual medicine and 10 tufts of level 5 spiritual medicine. All the spiritual medicines are of fire attribute. Besides these, the most precious of all should be this, said Mo Qinglong before handing the basketball-sized body refining spiritual flame ball to Wang Xian. Body refining spiritual flame ball, level 9. Inject flames into the body to refine one's physical body. When Wang Xian looked at the body refining spiritual flame ball and received its information, he was shocked. Injecting flames to refine the body was an extremely powerful effect. For cultivators with fire attributes, this would bring great benefits. Through this cultivation treasure, a martial artist could increase his affinity with flames and thus the speed of cultivation. It could even allow one to break through to the inborn realm quickly, and thus was incomparably valuable. It's no surprise that the palace master of Flame Palace stole it away despite risking him incurring the wrath of the fire god denomination. For the Flame Palace, this is too valuable. Wang Xian heaved a sigh. It was also because of the body-refining spiritual flame ball that the Flame Palace could quickly nurture several inborn experts and push the Flame Palace to the level of a sacred sect. However, there was a huge weakness in them becoming a sacred sect through this method, and that was the fact that their foundation couldn't keep up. This was also the reason why the Flame Palace was easily annihilated. This body-refining spiritual flame ball could be absorbed by the Dragon Ball. After absorbing it, the Dragon Ball would also possess the ability to refine one's body. A faint smile appeared on Wang Xian as he placed the Dragon Ball above it. Suddenly, the Dragon Ball ejected a layer of flames that gradually surrounded the body-refining spiritual flame ball and started fusing with it. Take all the treasures along. Let's go. Wang Xian looked around before instructing Mo Qinglong and the group. Yes, young master. Mo Qinglong and the group nodded their heads. Sun Lingxiu smiled and followed behind Wang Xian. As for Miracle Dr. Bloodman, he quickly followed behind Sun Lingxiu. Maniac Ji looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. Nonetheless, he caught up with him quickly. In the middle of the night, 6 figures gradually disappeared from view. No one had expected the experts that annihilated the Flame Palace were in turn killed easily. At this moment, figure after figure were heading towards Flame Palace at high speed. Some were strong experts at the half-step to Inborn realm while others were horrifying Inborn experts. All the experts in Flame City and the surrounding cities were heading there. Flame Palace has been annihilated. The voice of an old man pierced through the silent night. How can this be? Flame Palace had just become a sacred sect. How can they be annihilated? A sacred sect was annihilated? How can this be? Oh my God! Flame Palace is on fire. Flame Palace has really been annihilated. Based on Flame Palace disciples that managed to escape, it was the 10 experts from the Fire God denomination that annihilated their Flame Palace. Fire God denomination is a powerful force internationally with a deep history. No one would have expected them to deploy so many experts to annihilate the Flame Palace. 10 Inborn experts easily annihilated the Flame Palace. This Flame Palace's history is still too short. Shocking. Astonishing. All the experts that had rushed over stared at the burning Flame Palace in shock. A sacred sect had been destroyed right in front of them. Great. Since the Flame Palace had become a sacred sect, their disciples had been extremely arrogant. They deserved to be annihilated. Damn! Those absurdly arrogant Flame Palace disciples had been oppressing all the families in Flame City. They deserved it. While some were shocked, others were cheering. Flame Palace disciples had been too arrogant recently and had totally disregarded the other ancient martial arts families and sects in Flame City. When they saw disciples of Flame Palace, they had to lower their head. Now that the Flame Palace was annihilated, although they were shocked, they felt gratified. From this, one could easily tell that the reputation of Flame Palace wasn't too favorable. Their behavior was similar to a man who got rich overnight. Let's find a place for tonight before heading back tomorrow. It was already midnight. Wang Xian, Sun Lingxiu and the group were walking towards the city center of Flame City. Flame City was a small city. It was serene with beautiful landscape. Some places in the city had preserved the buildings from ancient times. They were arranged neatly in a row and looked beautiful and dignified. However, as they were in a small city, there was no one around them at midnight. Pa pa pa. Just as Wang Xian and the group approached a small street, they heard rapid footsteps. 2 small figures were running quickly while turning back worryingly from time to time. They were agile and one could easily tell that they were martial artists. Rascals, you two sure can hide. I can't believe you managed to hide from us for a month. You have no one to blame except yourself. You guys won't be getting away this time. Behind them, more than a dozen middle-aged men were chasing them while mocking them. Chapter 261, Be Your Teacher. Little sister, run now. Hurry. Let me handle them. A little boy was holding a girl's hand as they raced across a serene path. Upon hearing the taunting voices from behind, the little boy had a hopeless look on his face before he stopped and shouted at the little girl. No, brother. I'm not leaving. I'm staying with you. The eyes of the little girl were flushed with redness as she shook her head with stubbornness. She bit her lip as she stared at her elder brother. Mengxin, be good. Go now. If not, none of us can escape. As the little boy spun his head and looked at the dozens of middle-aged men, he pleaded with his sister anxiously. Hayak, none of you can escape. A dozen middle-aged men gazed at them with a teasing look and approached them just like how a cat would play with a rat. You people, stop right there. The boy glared at the group of people with anger. He put out his arms and stood firmly in front of the little girl, protecting her with a pair of determined eyes. Wow, this little fellow is great since he knows how to protect his sister. I wonder if you will want to kill us when we kill your sister before you later on. I'm so scared. A middle-aged man who was leading the team stared at them playfully as he revealed a ghastly smile on his face. You villains, I'll never let you off even if you kill me. The little boy gritted his teeth until traces of blood were seen. He stared at the man with a pair of obstinate and vengeful eyes. Hee, what a pair of fierce eyes. The middle-aged man stared at the juvenile coldly. I wonder if you can be fierce when I dig your eyes out, said the middle-aged man as he approached the two children, looking ruthless. Little sister, run now. The little boy gritted his teeth. He turned and pushed the little girl away before he took out a sharp dagger from his waist and thrust it at the group of middle-aged men. Hee, you're already a level 4 martial artist at such a young age. You are talented. But it's your fault for coming to this world. The middle-aged man raised the sword in his hand with a cold face. Along with the scabbard, he wielded his sword at the little boy. Bam! When the sword scabbard hit the young body, the little boy was thrown 5 meters away from his spot like a doll. He even spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Brother! When the little girl saw her brother spit out blood after being knocked down on the ground, tears rolled down from her cheeks immediately. She quickly ran to the boy and threw herself on him. Don't kill my brother. Hee. Lass, don't worry. You'll soon be joining him. The middle-aged man put on a creepy smile. Her. Wang Xian and the rest walked over slowly. When he swept his gaze across the boy and girl, he felt odd as his eyes glistened. Seeing them reminded him of himself and his sister, Xiaoyu. They were so similar. The group of middle-aged men paused slightly when they saw Wang Xian and his gang walking over. With a cold bellow, one said, "Get lost now." Sun Lingxiu looked at the pair of children and frowned as she strode towards them. Poking your nose around? I guess all of you are digging your own graves. The middle-aged man threw Sun Lingxiu and Wang Xian death stares while the rest of the middle-aged men watched them coldly from behind. Sun Lingxiu ignored the middle-aged man as she continued on her way to the two kids with an unwavering expression. The little boy gazed at Sun Lingxiu and Wang Xian as his eyes were seeking for help. Subsequently, he turned and stared daggers at the middle-aged man. Do you want to die? How dare you come over? The middle-aged man stared at the approaching Sun Lingxiu with a ruthless expression as he drew his sword with his right hand. Boom! Before Sun Lingxiu and the rest could strike, Wang Xian swung his arm, sweeping blazing flames at the dozen of middle-aged men. What? All of them stared with wide and round eyes. That was the only word that appeared in their minds before they lost consciousness and vanished in the air as though they had never existed before. He's formidable. The little boy who fell on the ground was shaken as he turned to look at Wang Xian in a stupor. Who? Sun Lingxiu came to them. With an arm swing, a white-colored light entered the little boy's body and healed his injuries straight away. The little girl parted her lips slightly as she lifted her head and looked at Sun Lingxiu with tears all over her face. Let's go. Wang Xian took a look at the siblings and spoke impassively to Sun Lingxiu. Sun Lingxiu paused for a moment before she nodded to Wang Xian. The group of people made their way forward once again. Thank you, big brother and sister. The little boy quickly got up and went to Wang Xian. You're welcome. You're pretty good too. Wang Xian gave him a faint smile and continued on his way to the hotel ahead. Brother, I would like to become your disciple. The little boy hurriedly followed beside him and shouted with passionate eyes and a face full of anticipation. Wang Xian looked at him and shook his head slowly. "Brother, please. I beg you to take me as your disciple. I will practice hard, and I'll become an expert." The little boy was desperate as he pleaded loudly again. Wang Xian kept his silence and strode ahead. "Brother, please. I beg you to accept me as a disciple." The little boy's voice was shaking and he was almost in tears. He went down on his knees immediately, with a knocking sound coming from the ground. "Big brother, please accept my brother as your disciple." The little girl ran to her brother and knelt down to Wang Xian, just like how her brother did. Wang Xian paused for a moment. He shook his head gently before he went ahead. "Disciple? You've got to be kidding me." He was not in the mood to be taking in any disciple. Besides, he did not know how to teach one even if he did. Sun Lingxiu spun her head and looked at the siblings with pity. "Brother, please accept me as a disciple," the little boy shouted again. Wang Xian ignored him and walked into the hotel along with the rest. The little boy's expression darkened as he stood up slowly. He gritted his teeth while he watched Wang Xian entering the hotel. "Let's go, sister. I must ask him to be my teacher and master formidable martial arts so that I can protect you in the future. We will not be hunted by someone else, and we'd be able to avenge our mother," said the little boy with determination as he wiped the tears on his sister's face. "Okay, I'll follow you." The little girl nodded as she reached for her brother's hand. "Let's go over." The little boy followed behind Wang Xian and came to the entrance of the hotel. He stood at the door and knelt on the ground with a pair of resolute eyes. The girl followed suit beside him. "Sister, I'll not let you suffer with me again." The boy stroked the head of his sister when she knelt together with him. "Okay, I trust you. I'll be happy if I can be together with you from now on." A smile surfaced on the little girl's face. Two children were kneeling in front of the hotel without moving an inch. Chapter 262, Taking in a Disciple. The morning in Flame City was shrouded by faint fog, making this little city look a little like an immortal's realm. Wang Xian opened the window of his hotel room and gave Xiaoyu and Guan Shuqing a call on his mobile phone. At this moment, Wang Xian squinted his eyes and looked towards the entrance of the hotel. There were two figures. They were skinny but stubborn and looked familiar to him. Both of them kneeled in front of the hotel, not moving an inch. The boy and girl looked a little pale and seemed like they might faint at any moment. "They are really stubborn." Wang Xian looked at the boy and girl. The boy was at most 15 years old while the girl might have been just 12 or 13 years old. From the two of them, he seemed to have seen Xiaoyu and his shadows. However, he was generally luckier. He wasn't hunted by others and didn't have to wander the world. They probably have been kneeling here for the entire night. Wang Xian was a little moved as his resolve wavered. He had never thought of taking in a disciple, let alone guiding one's cultivation. At 7+ in the morning, the boy and girl kneeling at the entrance of the hotel attracted the attention of many people. Some hotel guests that were leaving stared at them, feeling baffled. Two beggars. Why are they begging at the entrance of the hotel early in the morning? How unlucky we are to witness this. They are so young and yet are begging here. I really wonder what their family members are thinking. They must have gone crazy from thinking about money. As the guests from the hotel walked out one after another, they saw the dirty and skinny boy and girl. They couldn't help but frown and critique. These two kids are really pitiful. Only a city cleaner walked towards the two kids after seeing them. From his pocket, she took out a crumpled $10 note and said, "Hey kids, get yourself some breakfast." The boy looked at the old woman and shook his head. "Take it. I still have to work. Get yourself something to eat." The old woman threw the $10 note on the ground before moving to the side and starting to clean the streets. The boy and girl didn't say a word and simply kneeled there. They were clearly fatigued but still looked attentively towards the entrance of the hotel. Wah! Master, there are 2 beggars right there. At this moment, a group of 7 to 8 people walked out from the hotel. Among them, a little boy pointed at the boy and girl kneeling at the entrance of the hotel as he exclaimed. He ran towards the boy and girl excitedly while scrutinizing them. My servants, you may rise. The little boy was roughly 13 to 14 years old. He stood in front of the boy and girl and shouted mockingly while imitating what he had seen on television. I have already told you to rise. Why are you still kneeling down? Disobedient. The little boy tucked his hands on his waist and was clearly displeased. He continued shouting, Your young master is asking you to rise. Can't you hear him? Ha ha ha. The little boy broke into laughter while speaking. He looked to the girl beside and extended his hand over to pinch her face. Get lost. Seeing that the little boy was reaching towards his sister to pinch her face, the boy that was kneeling down was furious and pushed him away. That little boy staggered and almost fell. How dare you push me? I'm going to beat you to death. The little boy was furious to have been pushed away. He lifted his leg and kicked towards the head of the other boy. Although the little boy was young, he was extremely agile and fast while striking. The force and speed of his kick was even stronger than an ordinary hunk. The boy that was kneeling on the floor was enraged. He lifted his hands and pushed away the little boy again. The little boy had the strength of a level 2 martial artist at most. He was still a far cry from the other boy. Even though the other boy was kneeling down, the little boy was still pushed away. Arg! That little boy fell to the ground and let out a cry. Xiao Qiu! A middle-aged man from the group of 7 to 8 people shouted worryingly and walked over from the car park slot outside the hotel. Master, that beggar hit me. The little boy was furious. His face was flushed as he stared at the boy on the ground. It's all right. Xiao Qiu, Master will teach him a lesson on your behalf. The middle-aged man caressed the little boy's head lovingly. His attention then moved to the boy and girl on the ground. You two are just beggars and yet you dare to hit someone. You guys really do not know where you stand. The middle-aged man stared harshly at the boy kneeling on the floor before turning to his disciple and saying, Xiao Qiu, hit him the same way he hit you. If he still dares to retaliate, Master will teach him a lesson. Yes, Master. The little boy stared at the boy on the ground and remarked, with my master here, I'll be the one hitting you. He clenched his fist and threw it towards the boy on the ground immediately. The boy that was kneeling down could sense the ill intents of the surrounding people. He gritted his teeth and used his hands to protect himself while the little boy attacked him. However, he didn't dare to retaliate. Ha! You are pretty good at taking a beating. Seeing that his disciple's fist was blocked, the middle-aged man was surprised and looked at the boy on the ground. You're just a beggar. A beggar without parents. Yet you dare to hit me. I'm going to beat you to death. Tisk. As the little boy spoke, he threw punch after punch at the boy on the ground. Don't hit my brother. You are a bad guy. The girl beside the boy on the ground was furious as she grabbed the little boy's hand. How dare you scratch me? I'm going to hit you. Hit you. Seeing that the girl left a scratch wound on his arm, the little boy kicked towards the girl furiously. Don't kick my sister. The boy on the ground pounced towards the little boy once again. How dare you retaliate? The middle-aged man threw a kick towards the boy on the ground after seeing him retaliate. Bam! The middle-aged man's kick landed on the boy and sent him lying on the ground, grimacing in pain. Brother! Beside them, the exclamation of the girl sounded. Die! Within the hotel, while Wang Xian was still hesitating, he saw the incident at the entrance of the hotel. A cold look flashed in his eyes. He moved like a phantom and jumped down from the 6th floor of the hotel without catching the attention of anyone. I'll ask my master to beat you to death for hitting me. The arrogant voice from that little boy sounded once again. All right, Xiao Qiu. Don't be so calculative with a beggar. He's not qualified yet, the middle-aged man smiled and said to the little boy. Wang Xian looked coldly at the middle-aged man, the little boy and the group that came with them. He walked ahead towards the boy on the ground. Brother, are you all right? I'm fine, your brother is fine. The boy shook his head and forced out a pitiful smile. You are pretty good. At this moment, an emotionless voice sounded. The boy turned around and was instantly overwhelmed by joy. He looked agitatedly at Wang Xian as excitement filled his face. Chapter 263, Beat Him Up. Will you accept me as a disciple? The boy's face was filled with thrill. He immediately knelt beside Wang Xian with a pair of eyes filled with anticipation. Stand up. Wang Xian looked at him and patted his shoulder gently. Master, if you don't take me as your disciple, will not stand up. The boy said to Wang Xian with some obstinacy. That would depend on your performance. Wang Xian looked at the boy with a smile on his face. He repeated, stand up now. With some hesitation, the boy stood up slowly. He supported his numb feet with his hands before he picked his sister up from the ground. Wang Xian nodded and turned to the middle-aged man and the other boy. Then, he told the boy beside him, duel him. Hit him just like how he did to you. Master, he. The boy looked at the middle-aged man and hesitated. It's okay. Wang Xian shook his head and continued, he has a backing, so do you. Yes, master. The boy brightened up his eyes as he nodded his head with force. He looked at the other boy and walked towards him. I, Xiao Ran, want to challenge you. The boy walked towards the other boy and spoke with seriousness. Her. The boy who was talking to the middle-aged man was slightly stunned. That middle-aged man was also taken aback as he looked at Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran was earnest as he repeated to the boy again, I want to challenge you. Ha, a little beggar wants to challenge other people. I think you can get lost and return to your begging. The middle-aged man found Xiao Ran funny as he teased him. You're an adult. Don't meddle around in the kids' affairs. Wang Xian looked at the middle-aged man as he spoke coldly. Oh? The middle-aged man spun his head and looked at Wang Xian with coldness flashing in his eyes. Is your disciple afraid to answer his challenge? Wang Xian looked impassively at the middle-aged man. Ha! Just a beggar. I'm afraid my disciple will kill him by accident. The middle-aged man threw a disdainful look at Wang Xian. He then looked at his disciple. Xiao Qiu, show them your kung fu that you learned from me. Teach that little beggar a lesson. Yes, master. The boy nodded as he straightened his body and got into his ready stance. Xiao Ran's expression turned cold. Despite his young age, his eyes were sharp when he stared at the boy. I'm going to attack. Show them what you've learned from me. The middle-aged man smiled and spoke to the boy. Hee, what a spoiled child. Wang Xian looked at that boy with an aloof expression. Lad, watch your mouth, said the middle-aged man to Wang Xian. Who? Ha! Just then, Xiao Ran launched his attack at that boy with a frail-looking body. The young boy let out a cry as he attacked Xiao Ran in his stance. Bam! However, the boy was obviously not of the same level as Xiao Ran in terms of their strength and experience. Bam! Xiao Ran's fist punched forcefully on the boy, sending his teeth flying out as he landed on the ground. He did not put up any resistance at all. It was a combat of different classes. What? How dare you hurt my disciple? You're asking for your doom. When the middle-aged man saw his disciple landing on the ground instantly, he was infuriated. He reached out his arm to grab Xiao Ran. Standing at the side, Wang Xian narrowed his eyes and stretched out his hand to grab the middle-aged man by his arm. Ah! The middle-aged man let out a scream. He turned his head and stared at Wang Xian in horror. Do you want to die? I think it is you who wants to die. Wang Xian looked at him indifferently. Master! Xiao Ran walked over with a thrilled face when he saw Wang Xian stopping the middle-aged man's attack. If someone hits you, just fight with him. Don't be afraid, said Wang Xian to him impassively. Yes, master. Xiao Ran nodded his head with force. Let me go, the middle-aged yelled in embarrassment. Wang Xian was still gripping his arm. No matter how he tried to shake him off, he could not struggle out of his grip. Caw caw caw. Wang Xian looked at the middle-aged man emotionlessly. He moved his arm, and a bone-cracking sound was heard. Ah! The middle-aged let out a painful cry. Fong Liang. Junior brother. At this time, 6 middle-aged men who heard the scream turned their heads immediately. They were waiting to fetch someone when they realized the boy was lying on the floor and the middle-aged man was in pain. All of them were exasperated. Xiaoqiu. Junior brother, are you all right? 6 of them walked over and asked with nasty looks. How dare you cripple my arm? The middle-aged man was shaking as he glared daggers at Wang Xian with a darkened expression. His eyes were filled with killing intent. What? You want to die? The group of middle-aged men turned and glared at Wang Xian immediately. No, I think you guys are asking for it. Just then, a cold voice suddenly cut the air. Daunting oppression enveloped the group of middle-aged men instantly. This. For a moment, terror struck the middle-aged men. They turned around with shaken bodies. Several people walked over from the hotel entrance. 2 middle-aged men were leading at the front as one of them was giving them cold stares. Daunting oppression exuded from his body. Such oppression. This is, inborn. Inborn expert. He's an inborn expert. A hint of terror flashed across their faces while looking extremely dreadful. Hee hee. Wang Xian cast a contemptuous glance at them. He then turned to Xiao Ran and his sister and gestured for them to walk away. They turned out to be. The middle-aged man whose arm was crippled was shivering. He stared angrily at Wang Xian. Sect leader is here. Sect leader and vice-sect leader are here. At this moment, the group of middle-aged men looked into the distance with shaken bodies and embarrassed looks. Faint glimmers flashed in their eyes. They looked at Wang Xian and his clique with ruthless expressions. Stop right there, all of you. You're leaving after you wounded Xiaoqiu and my junior brother. I'll make you pay a hefty price for this. Inborn experts. Do you think you can bully us just because you're an inborn expert? It's not going to work today even if you have inborn experts. Several middle-aged men bellowed coldly at Wang Xian and his clique with radiance flashing in their eyes. Oh? Wang Xian drew his lips when he heard their cold bellows. He spun around, gazing at them with a smile on his face. Mo Yuan and Mo Qinglong threw them emotionless glances with impatient looks. Qing Mu's sect is not afraid of you. If you do not give us an explanation today, you'll not leave this place easily. Several middle-aged men's barking drew the attention of another group of people who were walking towards them from a short distance. They wore green uniforms with 2 elders walking in the middle of the group. The old man took a majestic gait as he exuded imposing demeanor. Their eyes were sharp as they turned their attention over here. Chapter 264, Comparing Number of Inborn Experts. Oh? Wang Xian and the rest stopped and stared coldly at the few middle-aged men who shouted at them. You can't possibly leave like this today. How dare you cripple our junior brother's arm? We will definitely make you pay twice. The group of middle-aged men stared harshly at them after catching sight of their sect leader and members walking over. Oh? Hee hee. Mo Yuan looked at the group of middle-aged men and noticed another group of people from Qing Mu's sect walking towards them. His expression turned callous. Just as the group of middle-aged men was feeling pompous while waiting for the sect leader, Mo Yuan suddenly moved. He disappeared from his original location suddenly as one could only see a black shadow sweeping by. Arg! Shrieks of pain propagated through the air. You guys. You dare. All the middle-aged men were stunned. They looked blankly at Mo Yuan, their eyes filled with horror and disbelief. What? The group from Qing Mu's sect that was walking towards the incident was shocked. The two old men walking at the front of the group were clearly infuriated. How dare you injure the disciples of our Qing Mu sect? You must be seeking your own demise, shouted the old man as he led the group over swiftly with his eyes fixed on Mo Yuan. How dare you show arrogance in front of us? Do you guys believe you are qualified to do so? Mo Yuan had completely ignored the approaching group of people from Qing Mu's sect while staring at the few middle-aged men that he had crippled completely with contempt. You! The few middle-aged men were gripped by fear. They had never expected themselves to be crippled because of some brazen words. Moreover, they were crippled right in front of the experts from their own sect. Feeling their crushed elixir field, they were desolated. With their elixir field crushed, they would become ordinary people. This made them feel despair. Swish swish swish. At this moment, the people from Qing Mu's sect had surrounded Wang Xian and the group. Two old men standing in the middle of the circle looked extremely gloomy. Sect leaders, he crippled all of us. A middle-aged man reported to the two old men while grimacing in pain. If you say another word, I'll slaughter you, said Mo Yuan coldly as he stared at the few middle-aged men. You! The few of them were immediately frightened. You guys aren't even going to show us, Qing Mu's sect, the slimmest of respect. Great! The two old men turned their heads over and stared at Mo Yuan. From them, strong killing intent and the aura of inborn experts shrouded towards Mo Yuan. To attack their disciples right before their eyes, this was completely disrespectful to Qing Mu's sect. As experts, they would naturally want them to pay a huge price for their actions. Sect leaders, you have to back us up. We have two inborn experts while they only have one. Yet, they dare to mistreat us. Beside them, a middle-aged man pointed at Wang Xian and the group angrily while remarking. We will definitely back you up on this incident. Since they dare to cripple you, I'll let them pay a price 100 times more. The two old men glowered at Mo Yuan. If you don't give us a good explanation today, we will put you down forever even if you are an inborn expert. Two inborn experts. Wang Xian looked towards the two sect leaders of Qing Mu's sect and smiled mockingly. Are you guys comparing the number of inborn experts? Asked Wang Xian in a ridiculing tone. Within the underworld, the strong rule. Those who die because they offend the strong will not be pitied. One of the old men stared at Wang Xian coldly and demanded strongly, I'll give you 5 seconds to give us a satisfactory answer. Don't you ever harbor the idea that you could offend the Qing Mu sect just because you have an inborn expert with you. The two old men put on an arrogant front as they stared gloomily at them. You want a satisfactory answer? Mo Qinglong smiled at them mockingly. Suddenly, the atmosphere around him changed. A horrifying and stifling aura shrouded towards the sect leader of Qing Mu's sect. Mo Yuan also released his aura as he pushed back. Are you satisfied with this answer? Mo Qinglong looked plainly at the old men with disdain. Hee. If you still aren't satisfied. Miracle Dr. Bloodman walked out slowly and stared coldly at the group from Qing Mu's sect. Let's have a fight, and your death will really not be pitied by anyone. As he spoke, blood started flowing throughout his tuxedo. A strong scent of blood propagated towards the two old men from Qing Mu's sect. What? When the two sect leaders saw Mo Qinglong and Miracle Dr. Bloodman stepping forward and directing their strong aura towards them, they were horrified. Rumble. At this moment, another violent aura shot over. This is bad. Facing the pressure from 4 inborn experts, the two old men were petrified and this was clearly evident in their expressions. Perspiration covered their foreheads suddenly as they staggered back subconsciously. As for the disciples that had surrounded them, their bodies had completely gone stiff. The pressure from the 4 inborn experts made them feel like there was a mountain weighing down on them. Their bodies couldn't help but shiver slightly. Bam! Bam! A few weaker disciples couldn't withstand the horrifying and dense pressure as they fell to the ground. I'm sorry. If our Qing Mu sect has offended you guys, please forgive us. The two sect leaders of Qing Mu sect were flushed while looking at Mo Qinglong, Mo Yuan, Maniac G, and Miracle Dr. Bloodman with horror. They had never expected the other party to have foreign-born experts. 4 of them. They still thought they could have easily suppressed the other inborn expert, as there were 2 of them. However, to their surprise, the other party had 4 inborn experts. That's twice theirs. Who the hell did these disciples offend? The 2 sect leaders of Qing Mu sect immediately begged for mercy. For inborn experts could easily annihilate their Qing Mu sect. Hee. Since we have given you a satisfactory answer, should you give us a satisfactory answer too? Mo Qinglong said mockingly while staring at the 2 sect leaders. The 2 old men looked conflicted as they gritted their teeth while withstanding the aura from the 4 inborn experts. The surrounding disciples of Qing Mu sect were horrified. As for those few middle-aged men, they were completely dumbfounded and lay flat on the ground. They had never expected themselves to draw such horrifying enemies because of a spoilt child. 4 inborn experts. I'll give you 5 seconds to consider. Mo Qinglong returned the words back to the 2 old men. Bam! 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 The 2 old men were bitter. They gritted their teeth, exchanged glances and waved their hands. Streams of energy fell on the few middle-aged men that were previously crippled. Arg! Shrieks of horror sounded once again. The few middle-aged men shivered violently. Their eyes were filled with despair and desolation. Their elixir fields were crushed previously and now their limbs were crippled by their sect leaders. This made them feel like they had fallen into hell in a day. If only we had not halted them arrogantly. Remorse and regret overwhelmed the group of middle-aged men. If they had not halted this group of horrifying people, neither their elixir field nor their limbs would be crippled. Misery filled their faces. The strong ruled the underworld after all. If you offended an expert when you did not have the strength, your outcome would be devastating. Chapter 265, Sacred Clan. The crowd gathered before the hotel drew the attention of many people. In particular, today, when the news of Flame Palace getting annihilated had spread around. Numerous powerful families and sects in the surrounding rushed over here. Those who arrived early were surprised by what they saw at the hotel entrance. Isn't that Miracle Dr. Wang? And a few inborn experts around him? Sure enough. I've said Miracle Dr. Wang's subordinates were those who were pit against Flame Palace during their pilgrimage. Looks like it's the truth. Miracle Dr. Wang seems to be on good terms with those inborn experts. That is Qing Mu sect. Why did they provoke Miracle Dr. Wang and his people? Are they digging their graves? Didn't they know that Wang Xian and his people were good enough to go against the sacred sect? Seems like some Qing Mu sect disciples offended Wang Xian and his group. Sigh, Qing Mu sect is really courting their own doom. Given the strength of Miracle Dr. Wang and those few around him, they are comparable to a first-class force. Miracle Dr. Wang has a strong network. Qing Mu sect only has 2 inborn experts, and yet they actually provoked him. Most of those who arrived early had attended the pilgrimage of Flame Palace. The group of spectators whispered their comments among themselves when they saw what happened. When the Qing Mu sect disciples vaguely overheard the surrounding conversations from the center spot, their faces went green. Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. They might not have paid attention to this name before. But after what had happened yesterday, this name had already propagated around the surrounding provinces. He was the miracle doctor who dared to pit himself against the Flame Palace, to the extent of embarrassing them. Now, the Qing Mu sect actually offended such an existence? Damn, he could even pit himself against a sacred sect, not to mention a Qing Mu sect. 5 to 6 Qing Mu sects could not even match up to a Flame Palace. Gentlemen, are you satisfied? The two Qingmu sect leaders were looking dreadful. They lowered their heads and asked this with respect. Hee, why go to such extent? Wang Xian was sarcastic as he walked ahead. Let's go. Wow! The rest of the surrounding Qingmu sect disciples hurriedly gave way as they saw them off with fear and respect. You'll be my unofficial disciple from now on. Wang Xian spoke to Xiao Ran indifferently. Thank you, master. My name is Xiao Ran. This is my sister, Lu Mengxin. Oh? Is she your biological sister? Yes, master. I followed the last name of my father while my sister followed my mother's. Sister, the white-colored light you released the other day was impressive. Can you teach me? I want to become your disciple. Xiao Ran and Lu Mengxin were elated as they talked to Wang Xian and Sun Lingxiu. The group of figures and their voices slowly diminished. Qingmu sect disciples heaved a deep sigh of relief behind them. They were gasping for breath. The two Qingmu sect leaders also wiped the sweat from their foreheads. How did they even provoke such a domineering existence? They looked at the middle-aged men who were lying on the floor with cold eyes. Everyone was commenting on it. A large luxury bus was driving from Flame City to Rivertown at a rapid speed. Wang Xian was hugging manuals in the car. These manuals were taken from those Fire God denomination people, which included Cultivation Arts of Flame Palace and Fire God denomination. They were the top-notch manuals. But they were of no use to Wang Xian. He cast a glance at Xiao Ran, who looked reserved while standing beside him. I think you also practiced fire-attributed manual. Your art of cultivation is great, said Wang Xian, looking at him. Yes, master. Xiao Ran answered as he nodded. But he quickly lowered his head. It was from my father's family. Family? Wang Xian nodded. Where did you stay? Shangjing, Xiao family of Shangjing. We came from a huge family known as the Sacred Clan. Xiao Ran answered without the slightest hesitation or concealment. Shangjing Sacred Clan. An unexpected radiance flashed in his eyes. Shangjing, the capital of the country, used to be the ancient city where emperors lived. Now, it had become one of the cities with the strongest foundations in the country. Shangjing, a place known to have gathered hidden talents and experts. In this country, sacred sect did not represent a sect, but rather, a sacred clan. However, sacred clans were rather scarce as compared to saint-class sections. Besides, every sacred clan was a powerful family with hundreds of years of legacy. The disciples in the clan could hit more than thousands. Sacred clans were not any weaker than sacred sects, they were even more united and stronger. Memorize these fire-attributed cultivation arts. As Wang Xian spoke, he grabbed Xiao Ran's arm and examined him. His physique was considered good, but it was still far off compared to inborn constitution. But Wang Xian did not unblock his 8 extraordinary meridians with his dragon energy. He had his own plan. Xiao Ran was only his unofficial disciple, and he would not turn him into a dragon. So Xiao Ran was just a human disciple. Yes, master. Xiao Ran was showing his excitement as he nodded his head hard to Wang Xian. He took the manuals and began his reading at the side. Wang Xian nodded with satisfaction. He fidgeted his finger with a ball of blue flames dancing on it. Even though you're just an unofficial disciple, I'll make you rise above the sacred clans. As an incompetent master, this flame is my gift for you. Wang Xian pondered to himself as he looked to the other side. Lu Mengxin was sitting beside Sun Lingxiu, watching her with a pair of watery eyes. This lass wished to possess magical power so that she could treat her brother's injuries in the future. Sun Lingxiu examined her body before she finally agreed to it. The bus quickly came back to the city. Maniac Ji bid goodbye to Wang Xian with respect. After witnessing Wang Xian's capabilities and strength, he was in complete awe. He could not imagine how Wang Xian could transform a ball into a divine dragon and kill 8 powerful inborn experts. Old Mo, there's another villa not far from here. Go and buy that villa, so that Xiao Ran, his sister, and you guys can stay over there, Wang Xian said to Mo Qinglong. Yes, young master. His villa was getting crowded. Wang Xian did not want too many people to disturb his happy sexual life. I roamed around the world for nearly a century. Anyone who sees me must address me as Sui Huang in respect. After you marry into the sacred clan Sui family, no one will dare to bully you. All the guys in the Sui family are outstanding. You can take your pick then. You can marry anyone you like. I'll make the decision for you. In the future, everyone in the Sui family will treat you with respect. Also, I'll let you have a taste of my strength. Don't be alarmed. Just when Wang Xian and the group of people were approaching the villa, an old man's elated voice was heard from it. Subsequently, overspreading oppression exuded from it. Chapter 266, A Powerful Old Man Rumble. A strong aura formed a field around the surroundings. The field was incomparably frightening with immense energy that sent chills down their spines. Wang Xian and the group were shocked to experience such a powerful field the moment they approached the entrance of the villa. Mo Qinglong, Mo Yuan and the group instantly sharpened their vigilance as they walked in carefully. Wang Xian frowned slightly and was shocked by what he was seeing. At this very moment, the entire space in front of him seemed to be inside a huge furnace. Standing on the outside, he could still sense a scorching sensation. This aura. Could it be a Dan realm expert? Mo Qinglong was astonished as his gaze fixed on the person in front of him. How is it? Do you know how powerful I am now? Hey, girl, if you marry into my Sui family, not only will I give you huge authority, but I will also give you powerful strength. Do consider it. The voice of an old man sounded once again. From his tone, one could tell the arrogance and haughtiness. Standing outside, Wang Xian heard that voice as he walked slowly into the villa. Once he was in the backyard, he saw an old man in a yellow robe standing in the middle of the backyard. In front of him, Xiaoyu, Guan Shuqing and Elder Fang were standing there, looking at the old man in shock. The old man stared intensely at Guan Shuqing and it was clear that his previous words were for her. Xiao Xian. Seeing Wang Xian walking in, Guan Shuqing immediately ran towards him with joy. Ha! The old man frowned upon seeing how Guan Shuqing reacted. He turned around and started scrutinizing Wang Xian. What's the matter? Who is this old fogey? Wang Xian glanced emotionlessly at the old man in a yellow robe before asking Guan Shuqing. Guan Shuqing stuck her tongue out playfully and answered, "This man is our benefactor." Benefactor? Wang Xian was taken aback as he knitted his eyebrows. I didn't tell you about this when you called in the morning because I was afraid you would be worried about us. I'll tell you the details in a while, mumbled Guan Shuqing softly. Hey kid, you better choose your words wisely. The old man squinted his eyes and observed Wang Xian. He was displeased about Wang Xian's use of old fogey. He looked to Guan Shuqing and continued, Hey girl, is he your boyfriend? He has nothing that stands out. Any kid from my Sui family would be more outstanding than him. I'll get my kids over the next 2 days for you to take a look. Grandpa, I already have Xiao Xian. Please don't try to matchmake me with others or I will really be angry. Upon hearing the old man's comments, Guan Shuqing replied discontentedly. Girl, I'm doing all this for your own good. With your talents, you would not be at the same level as him in the future. You guys belong to separate worlds, the old man reminded Guan Shuqing immediately. Alright, old fogey. If you are to call the members of your Sui family over, I'll let them remain in Rivertown forever. Wang Xian heard the old men and remarked emotionlessly. If it wasn't for Guan Shuqing saying that he was their benefactor, Wang Xian would likely have turned this old fogey into a dead fogey. TSK. The old man was taken aback by Wang Xian's remarks. His smile disappeared slowly as he stared at Wang Xian. A scorching hot and terrifying aura that resembled a furnace gathered above Wang Xian and shrouded him. With a single thought, the old man could let it fall. An ordinary person would melt under such an aura. Even so, Wang Xian still felt as though there was a sun above him and the pressure was incomparably scary. He frowned slightly and stared coldly at the old man. A stream of dragon power pierced through the furnace above his head and towards the old man. It seems like this old man is seeking his death. Mo Qinglong, Mo Yuan, Sun Lingxiu and Miracle Dr. Bloodman surrounded the old man and locked down on him with their aura. What? The old man was shocked and looked at Wang Xian in disbelief. Following which, he glanced at Mo Qinglong, Sun Lingxiu and the rest. His expression was constantly changing. The aura emitted by the young man in front of him had smashed through his field easily. This greatly impressed him. Field. This was his field. And the aura from this young man. This. Besides Wang Xian, 4 people were surrounding him. Not a single one of them was weak either. This is just a small river town. How can this be? The old man was thinking constantly as his expression changed. After tens of seconds, his mouth twitched a little and a smile appeared on his face once again. I never expected a small river town to be hiding so many experts. I'm Sui Huang. Sorry for the intrusion. It's fate that brought us together. As the old man spoke with smiles and in a light-hearted tone, the aura around him changed. It was as though the intense atmosphere from before had not existed at all. Wang Xian looked emotionlessly at the old man and retracted his aura. Girl. You are indeed someone I have high regard for. Even your boyfriend is so incredible. I can tell that you two are truly in love with each other and will definitely live together for an entire lifetime. The old man laughed and maintained a sincere smile. However, I really think highly of your talents. I, Sui Huang, sincerely hope to take you in as my disciple. Guan Shuqing was taken aback but was more shocked by how fast the old man's attitude had changed. Wang Xian took a further glance at the old man before saying to Guan Shuqing, "Let's go. Back to the room." The old man stood in the middle of the backyard. Seeing them walking into the villa, his mouth twitched a little. Damn it! How can a small river town have someone so horrifying? Moreover, he's still so young. Did I live my 100 years in vain? The old man's eyebrows twitched constantly. I had thought of getting this girl to marry into the Sui family. Blood ties and family relationships are always better to tie her down. Now, I can only go for the best alternative. I must definitely take her in as my disciple. The old man revealed a determined look. The next moment, he smiled and followed the group into the villa. What kinds of danger did you guys encounter yesterday? Wang Xian asked Xiaoyu, Guan Shuqing and Elder Fong caringly. A few half-step to inborn realm experts ambushed us. Sect leader Tang conjectured that they might be from the Flame Palace, answered Elder Fong. They practiced fire attribute art of cultivation and are likely to be experts at the half-step to inborn realm. At this moment, the voice of the old man sounded once again. He looked to Wang Xian and continued with a smile, "Oh brother, you might not know about this. The situation was really perilous. 4 to 5 half-step to inborn experts cornered them. That sect leader of a small sect couldn't even deal with 1 half-step to inborn expert. Just as they were all about to be killed, I happened to be nearby. I stepped in immediately and saved them. If it wasn't for me, this matter would have been more dangerous." Elder Fong nodded his head speechlessly. The incident was just as the old man had described. Flame Palace? Wang Xian frowned slightly and looked to the old man to thank him. "Thank you for extending your help to save them." You don't have to. If you would like to express your gratitude, let your girlfriend, in other words, that girl, be my disciple. Brother, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm talking about simply taking her as a disciple. My kids could never match up to you. Let me take the girl as my disciple and I'll guide her diligently and groom her to be an expert. This old man was trying to get something by harping on his previous assistants. Chapter 267, Death of Dragonians, 1. Guan Shuqing, Xiaoyu, and the rest of them looked at the old man speechlessly. The old man came with domineering strength, he was prideful and acted like a child. When he came to their rescue, he marked Guan Shuqing, saying he would find a boyfriend for her so that she could marry into the Sui family. Yet, he wanted to take her as a disciple now. His frequent inconsistency was a mismatch with his image as an expert. Hence, they were speechless about it. Yet, he was rather cute. After all, this old man was their benefactor. Wang Xian also looked at the old man with nothing to say. The old man had no dignity and temper like an expert. Instead, he seemed more like a rogue by trying to gain returns from the debt of gratitude. But Wang Xian could not comment on anything. "I don't think she needs your guidance," Wang Xian said without any excitement in his voice, as he did not have a good first impression of this old fellow. "Why not? I have decades of teaching experience. Several of my disciples are now experts in some regions. I have vast teaching experience, and you can't compare me to any average person. I have all the resources and treasures for cultivation." "Oh right," the old man said as he fished out something from his pocket with smiles. "Lass, look, what's this?" "Look. This is the elixir that I refined, Muscle Flex Elixir. After taking a pill, your skin will be as smooth as a baby." Back in those years, the pretty girls in all of Shangjing were crazy about my Muscle Flex elixirs. They are priceless. Come, try it. As the old man spoke, he took out more pills and handed one each to Elder Fang, Xiaoyu, and Sun Lingxiu. Sun Lingxiu held it in her hand as the bright energy flashed across. With smiles on her face, she said, "Thank you. You're welcome. My forte is refining elixirs." Refining elixirs is putting various spiritual grasses together to refine more effective elixirs. "Lass, if you accept me as your teacher, you can refine Muscle Flex elixirs and beauty elixirs," the old man boasted to Guan Shuqing. "Really?" Guan Shuqing's eyes glimmered as she was tempted. Every girl pursues a youthful appearance. Of course. Why would I cheat a bunch of lasses? Become my disciple, and you can have as many elixirs as you want in the future. You could even maintain your current beauty even at the age of 50 to 60 years old. The old man continued to encourage her with eagerness. He did not hesitate to reveal what he was capable of, just like how he wanted Guan Shuqing to be married into the Sui family. Wang Xian smiled at the side. He had also discovered the uniqueness of Guan Shuqing's physique in recent days. He was speculating whether this had anything to do with mating with his dragon body. "Shuqing, you can decide on your own." Wang Xian did not make any decision for her since the old man, Sui Huang, had formidable strength. Judging from his look, he seemed genuine in offering to take Guan Shuqing as his disciple. Guan Shuqing hesitated. "Lass, what are you waiting for? An invincible and caring teacher is right before you." The old man stared at Guan Shuqing and spoke anxiously. I don't want to leave Rivertown." "You don't have to leave Rivertown. This is a trivial matter. I'm used to roaming around. I can settle down in Rivertown from now on. But, I still have to go to school." "It's okay. Given your talent, it will be sufficient if you cultivate after school every day." I. Guan Shuqing continued to hesitate as she could not make up her mind. "Lass, this is the gift from your master. You'll accompany me to Shangjing a few days from now for a formal ceremony of disciple acceptance. Don't worry. It will take at most 2 days." Upon seeing the hesitating Guan Shuqing, the old man took out a bangle from his pocket. The bangle was fiery red in color with a phoenix on it. This is the Flaming Phoenix bangle and is activated by fire attributions. It can form a fire ring during attacks. If you struck unexpectedly, an inborn expert would be bound to be seriously injured. "Disciple, wear this on your hand." The old man self-proclaimed himself as the master when he handed the gift over. Guan Shuqing took it without realizing it. Lass. Now you have to address me as your master, the old man shouted with excitement. Wang Xian smiled with no comments. He looked at Xiao Ran, come over here. As my unofficial disciple, I'll also gift you a thing. Yes, master. Xiao Ran nodded and walked over immediately. Wang Xian flicked his finger, and a sapphire flame emerged from his hand. He encompassed it with dragon energy and injected it into Xiao Ran's body. This is... The old man stared with eyes agape. He watched the sapphire flame in Wang Xian's hand with disbelief. Heavenly flame. It's the heavenly flame. The heavenly flame entered Xiao Ran's elixir field. Wang Xian moved his palm slightly, and the dragon ball emerged as it slowly suspended itself above Xiao Ran. We will be using spiritual inferno to refine your body. You'll circulate your internal energy to integrate with the blue flame. Use the blue flame to replace other fire elements. Hence, it will be painful for you, so bite through it, said Wang Xian to Xiao Ran impassively. Xiao Ran nodded his head with force. Master, I'm not afraid of pain. Good. Sit on the floor with your legs crossed, said Wang Xian. The dragon ball grew to be basketball-size slowly as it suspended above Xiao Ran's head. Steams of fire energy flowed into his body to remove its impurities. This is body-refining spiritual flame ball. The old man opened his eyes wide with shock on his face. His expression changed drastically. Such a badass. The old man looked at Wang Xian and blurted out the words uncontrollably. Everyone around him was speechless when they heard it coming from an expert. Disciple, this sapphire flame is not suitable for refining elixirs. I'll get you heavenly flame that is suitable for it. We also have such a body-refining spiritual flame ball too. The old man peered at this other person's disciple and assured Guan Shuqing. Using spiritual inferno to refine the body is way too painful. I have a way. You don't even have to look for heavenly flame because I have my own plans next time. As the girlfriend of Guan Shuqing, he would make her turn into a dragon in the future. Once she became a dragon, the heavenly flame would not be of much use to her. This was the reason why he did not pass Guan Shuqing the heavenly flame. The old man twitched his mouth as he glared at Wang Xian with dissatisfaction. He muttered, she's my disciple. Master, he's my boyfriend. Guan Shuqing whispered softly beside the old man. The old man's face turned black and he made no further remark as he was indignant. The thing is, the entire Shangjing would get excited if Sui Huang declared he was going to accept a disciple. But now, not only did he have to coax his disciple, he also had to consider her boyfriend's opinion. Damn, if it were not for her boyfriend being such a badass, would he be humiliated? Xiao Xian, is he the disciple you just accepted? Asked Guan Shuqing with her curiosity piqued. She came over to Wang Xian and observed Xiao Ran whose cheeks were flushed with redness as he endured the tremendous pain. He's not bad. Wang Xian nodded with a smile as he explained briefly to them. On the other hand, Mo Yuan's expression changed as soon as he answered a call. Chapter 268, Death of Dragonians, 2. The villa got livelier with more people in it and Xiao Ran was still undergoing the baptism by the Dragon Ball. He would at least be a level 6 martial artist after being baptized by the energy of the Dragon Ball combined with the heavenly flame, tranquil blue flame. For a teenager of 15 years old to be a level 6 martial artist, the talent could easily be considered demon-like. Even the saints and saintess from the sacred sect or sacred clans might not have such capability at this age. Sui Huang dragged Guan Shuqing aside to explain to her about cultivation and refining elixir pills. Mo Yuan respectfully walked to Mo Qinglong and reported an incident. We couldn't get in contact with them. They might have encountered a mishap. Mo Qinglong frowned upon hearing Mo Yuan. He looked at Wang Xian who was talking to Xiao Yu before replying, investigate this matter thoroughly. If they encountered mishaps, find the culprit. A tint of brutality flickered across Mo Qinglong's eyes as he spoke. At noon, the whole group had lunch together. Sui Huang unabashedly sat down together with them. He even requested that Wang Xian provide him with a room in the villa so he could stay for a long while. Naturally, he was mercilessly rejected by Wang Xian. Instead, Wang Xian allowed him to stay with Mo Qinglong and the rest in the neighboring villa. There's no way he would let an old guy live in his villa and disrupt their lives. In the afternoon, the group went to the top of the villa to take a break. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan walked to Wang Xian and reported solemnly, "Young master, something bad has happened to two of our Dragonians." Ha! Wang Xian, who was lying under the umbrella and looking at Guan Shuqing and Xiao Yu on the yacht a short distance away, was taken aback and sat up. What happened? His eyebrows knitted a little as he looked at the duo and asked. "Young master, although the Dragonians split off to roam the underworld, we have been maintaining communication. The norm would be to communicate once every 3 days, said Mo Yuan. He looked at Wang Xian before continuing. Yesterday, we weren't able to contact two brothers of ours. The Dragonians who are in charge investigated the matter and confirmed that they were met with an accident. Two Dragonians were met with an accident? Wang Xian was a little gloomy, and solemnness gleamed in his eyes. The 50 Dragonians were his most loyal subordinates. They had stayed with him since his rise. And now, 2 of them had died. Although asking them to roam the underworld was risky to a certain extent in the first place, Wang Xian was still furious to learn about their deaths. Who killed them? Asked Wang Xian glumly. We don't know. We have not found out who the culprit was, but what we know is that they died during a mission. Mo Yuan shook his head and continued, we have found the mission. It was a protection mission and the rewards were great. Mo Qinglong handed Wang Xian a mobile phone. Wang Xian took the phone and looked at the mission. It looked just like any ordinary protection mission. The protection period was just 2 months but the reward was $200 million. The reward was really handsome but the requirement for the strength of bodyguards was really high too. It requested level 9 or stronger martial artists and there would be no reward if the mission failed. A protection mission where a level 9 martial artist would die in mission? Furthermore, with the capabilities of the Dragonians, they wouldn't have to fear half-step to inborn realm experts. Wang Xian frowned as he read through the details of the mission. Considering the strength of Mo Ersan and Mo Sanyi, there's no way they could have been killed unless there were 5 to 6 half-step to inborn realm experts attacking them together, or an inborn expert involved, Mo Qinglong continued. According to the information we have gathered, there are 2 more level 9 experts who accepted the mission. All of them died. My guess is that an inborn expert is involved. Do we have nothing on the enemy? Asked Wang Xian with a frown. We do not know yet. Perhaps the issuer of the mission and the one being protected might know something. We are currently investigating, replied Mo Qinglong. Investigate it thoroughly. We must definitely find the culprit and take revenge for our brothers. Wang Xian ordered. He didn't care who the enemy was or why they killed the 2 Dragonians. This feud must be avenged. Yes, young master. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan nodded their heads and left immediately to investigate the matter. Wang Xian looked at the mission on the mobile phone again. The issuer of the mission wasn't hiding at all. His name was Tang Jiuqiao, the richest man of Guai province with assets of approximately $70 billion. He was a hugely successful businessman. However, this mission wasn't protecting himself but his daughter. Wang Xian sank into deep thought while reading about the mission. He noticed that Tang Jiuqiao had issued a new mission yesterday. He was hiring half-step to inborn experts and the rewards were $500 million. $500 million in rewards for 2 months was an exceptionally attractive mission. Wang Xian had never had $500 million. This amount might even tempt some inborn experts. Master! At this moment, Xiao Ran and his sister came and respectfully greeted Wang Xian. It's done. Wang Xian observed Xiao Ran's body attentively from head to toe as he revealed a satisfied look. Level 6 martial artist. After undergoing the refining by the Dragon Ball, he now had the strength of a level 6 martial artist. Although his body was still lean, his complexion had changed substantially. His pupils had a tint of blue and his body had a drifting disposition. Wang Xian smiled faintly and said, "Have something nutritious for the next few days." "Oh yes," exclaimed Wang Xian as he looked at Sui Huang who was beside him. "Old man, aren't you well versed in refining elixir pills? Take care of my disciple and refine some elixir pills for him. Feel free to use the spiritual grasses and medicine in the small garden. Make some for Shuqing too. Don't attempt to keep some for yourself." Sui Huang, who happened to be in the small garden observing the various spiritual grasses and medicines, was taken aback. The edge of his mouth twitched a little subconsciously. "These spiritual medicines aren't to my liking," replied Sui Huang. The moment Sui Huang completed his previous sentence, he asked, "Brother, I'd like to ask you something. The attributes of these spiritual medicines are totally different. How did you manage to plant them together while ensuring they survive?" Sui Huang was an alchemist and he knew a lot about spiritual medicines. The Sui family also had a garden with spiritual medicines and grasses. There were even level 6 spiritual medicines in his garden. However, the breeding of spiritual medicine was extremely troublesome with extremely stringent requirements for the environment. However, spiritual medicine with fire attributes could be planted with spiritual medicine with water attributes in this place. That was darned amazing to him. "I don't know. They just survived after I planted them there," answered Wang Xian emotionlessly before lying back on the chair. Spiritual medicine indeed had stringent requirements for its environment. However, Wang Xian just needed to inject them with Azure Dragon energy regularly for them to survive. Moreover, their growth would also be quicker with the nourishment of the Azure Dragon energy. If you have nothing to do, just rest or cultivate. As for the matter regarding cultivation, follow your master's girl. Also, listen to the teachings of this capable old man. He's someone with decades of experience, Wang Xian said to Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran looked at his own master and the old man at the side before replying, "Yes, master." "Damn it." Sui Huang's face turned gloomy. "You didn't answer my question when I asked you about breeding spiritual medicines. Yet, you are pushing your responsibilities of teaching your disciple to me." Chapter 269, Vengeance. Wang Xian did not know how to teach at all. He did not have the capability, and he had a different cultivation system. Hence, he could not teach even if he wanted to. Since a formidable expert was here, Wang Xian simply got Xiao Ran to follow Guan Shuqing's lessons. He believed it would be better than teaching Xiao Ran himself. After a relaxing afternoon, Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan rushed back in the evening. "How did it go?" Wang Xian asked as soon as he saw them enter. "Young master, it's a little tricky." Mo Qinglong frowned slightly. "According to the updates we've gotten, the richest man of Gui province, Tang Jiuchao's daughter seems to be a disciple from one of the sacred sects, Heavenly Sound Sect. They are now selecting their saint and saintess. As the saint and saintess, they have to experience the outside world and accumulate enough strength and experiences before they can become a saint and saintess. While Tang Jiuchao's daughter was roaming around, someone attempted to assassinate her. It may have been sent by her rivals from the same sect or Tang Jiuchao's. After all, the more power his daughter gained, the lesser obstacles he had in his business. So many parties are involved in this. Wang Xian frowned as it would be more complicated if Sacred Sect was involved. Heavenly Sound Sect, unlike the newly promoted Flame Palace, had so many experts that even Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan had to be cautious. The assassins may not be from the Sacred Sect. They may be from some assassination organizations, Mo Qinglong added as he knit his eyebrows slightly. If we want to take our revenge, we need to obtain some news from the daughter of Tang Jiuchao. Otherwise, it will be difficult to know who our enemies are. Radiance flickered in Wang Xian's eyes. We must avenge them. Young master, there's a way now. Mo Yuan and I accepted Tang Jiuchao's mission. We'll get close to his daughter for more information, said Mo Qinglong. I'll go with you guys. Wang Xian hesitated slightly before he made the decision. Get the rest of the Dragonians to be careful. No more accidents. Yes, young master. I'll accept the mission tonight. Tomorrow, we'll rush to Gue province. Mo Qinglong nodded. Great. Wang Xian nodded too. We'll set off tomorrow. Yes. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan left while Wang Xian had his thoughts. At night, Wang Xian gave a heads-up to Xiao Yu and Guan Shuqing that he would be busy for the next few days. He left Xiao Ran in Sui Huang's hands. Hence, Sui Huang was indignant. Damn you for taking me as your babysitter. But the thought of having a formidable talent as his disciple stopped him from complaining after his mumblings. The next morning, Wang Xian, Mo Qinglong, and Mo Yuan took a flight to Gue province. Sun Lingxiu, along with Miracle Dr. Bloodman, had officially started their business in Divine Dragon Medical Hall. Gue province was about 1,000 kilometers away from Rivertown. It was a rather far and less economically developed province. There were more mountain ranges within the Gue province. It was important to have mountains in terms of geographical location. Tang Jiuqiao was the richest man in Gue province. The provincial capital of Gue province was a not-so-bustling second-tier city, Wu Mountain City. Even though the city was not bustling, it was beautiful for a provincial capital. Young master, according to the mission's instruction, we need to go to Tang Jiuqiao's villa for a test, said Mo Qinglong to Wang Xian. Do we still have to get tested? Wang Xian was unsure as this was his first time accepting a mission. Yes, young master. They wanted to test if we're capable of the mission. After the test, there's another round of selection too. Mo Qinglong nodded. A total $500 million commission for 4 selected candidates each. That's a total of $2 billion. Such a huge sum of money could tempt some of the first-class forces. Perhaps, some of the inborn experts will be here too. $500 million commission was not a small amount to level 9 or inborn experts. Hence, it was worth it for some of the disciples from powerful forces to take up this assignment. Wang Xian nodded, and the trio took a cab to the Wu Mountains Villa district within the city. Wu Mountains City was named after the mountains. Dozens of huge mountain ranges were surrounded by luxurious villa zones. Tang Jiuqiao lived in one of the biggest villa zones in the region, surrounded by lush trees and beautiful scenery. The villa occupied half of the mountain top, and it could be considered a manor house. The trio arrived at the villa entrance and identified themselves. 7 to 8 bodyguards dressed in black were inspecting everyone at the entrance. Their waists seemed to be bulging with things. Guns were still a threat to average martial artists. Even inborn experts could not block out intensive artillery bombardment. Only those that were known as the immortals of the land, Dan realm experts, could ignore those weapons. But if it were a nuclear bomb, even Dan realm experts would be blasted to death. Wang Xian had no idea if there were any other special weapons to attack individual experts. The security guards grew in numbers as they entered the villa. It was a huge villa that was 7 to 8 times larger than the one Wang Xian had near the sea. Only the richest man in the province could own this. Wang Xian sized the place up with a tint of shock on his face. This portrayed a true blue rich man. Please come with me. The bodyguard in black led the way in front and came to the front of the villa. There was a huge pool and an open space in front of it. At this time, there were 20 to 30 people at the open space. Please wait over here. There are more people to come, the bodyguard in black told them before he left. All of them are half-step to inborn experts. Mo Qinglong swept his gaze around and spoke in a deep voice. Even half-step to inborn experts could not be free of this money temptation. Wang Xian smiled and waited quietly at one corner. A lot of people came. Just then, another 4 men entered. As soon as they looked at the people around them, they had a taunting smile on their faces. Don't waste your time over here. We are clinching the mission. You guys can go back. Out of the 4, one of the middle-aged men swept his gaze around and spoke with a beaming face. Each one of them was holding a blade in his hands, dressed like a minority race as they exuded harsh and furious auras. Her. The cocky voice drew the immediate annoyance of many people around. Everyone was a half-step to inborn expert. What was there to be afraid of? The 4 heavenly blades? An old man spun his head around with impatience. But when he saw the 4 of them, he was slightly stunned, with trepidation in his eyes. What? The 4 heavenly blades. They're the 4 heavenly blades. Never did I expect their arrival. Aren't they from the far Beifeng province? The 4 heavenly blades, what a familiar name. All of them looked at the incoming 4 people with solemn expressions. Chapter 270, Who else? The 4 heavenly blades are 4 well-known half-step to inborn experts from Beifeng province. They once killed an inborn expert together. What? They are that strong? The 4 of them can kill an inborn expert? Under normal circumstances, it would be hard for 10 half-step to inborn experts to kill even a single inborn expert. What horrifying strength! Those half-step to inborn experts in the crowd pulled a long face. In the underworld, there was a common saying. Your existence was similar to an ant until you entered the realm of the inborn. Although half-step to inborn experts were strong, they were nothing compared to inborn experts. However, these 4 men had once killed an inborn expert. This was incomparably terrifying. When these 4 men use their heavenly blade techniques together, the strength is incredible. They are widely known and even first-class forces wouldn't trifle with them recklessly, the crowd whispered. Their expressions changed when they saw them carrying a curved blade each and walking towards them. There are quite a number of experts here, remarked Wang Xian with a smile. Any one of these people could be considered an expert in today's world. Aren't you guys leaving yet? In that case, you guys better be careful when facing us in a while. The 4 heavenly blades looked across the crowd and remarked coldly. At that moment, everyone felt that the pressure on them had increased. They frowned and looked bitterly at the 4 men. The sudden appearance of these 4 experts had lowered their chances of getting this mission substantially. Is everyone here? A clearly fatigued voice sounded. At this moment, 3 people walked out from the villa. One of them was a middle-aged man. He was approximately 50 years old and slightly plump. An old man and a gorgeous lady followed closely behind him. The old man had scars all over his face and looked intimidating. As for that beautiful lady, she wore a long white dress and was carrying a green zither behind her. Her long hair was tied up in the same manner as those heroines in dramas about the past. Her temperament resembled that of an immortal. She seemed out of the world and was very attractive. This kind of beauty was rare in modern times. Wang Xian looked at the beautiful lady and found her to be familiar. Tang Yin. When he was in the hostel, Wang Dahai often talked about her. In fact, this rascal even went to another city just to have a look at her. Tang Yin was a singer and a musician who specialized in zither. She had quickly become known by many since last year. Although her fame had not spread nationwide, many had a strong impression of her. Tang Yin had never taken up endorsements or attended any variety shows. She gained popularity after working with a piano master. Subsequently, she released an album and the songs on it became widely popular. Her popularity was on par with second-tier celebrities and she had held several concerts. I heard from Wang Dahai that when he attended Tang Yinshuan's concert, he was so moved that he teared up after hearing her voice and her playing of the zither. It was as though she could sing into his heart. If she could make Wang Dahai, who is nearly tone-deaf, cry after listening to her music, there are likely other factors on top of her zither skills. Heavenly Sound sect used musical instruments as their weapons. By playing and using the attributes of metal and water energy, they could influence their opponents and kill them. According to records, when disciples of Heavenly Sound sect played the war instruments on the battlefield, it had the incredible ability to lift the spirits of the soldiers, making them fearless and causing them to forget about fatigue. Wang Xian looked at the beautiful lady and thought to himself. Mr. Tang, those who should be here are already here. Those who aren't here are unlikely to be coming. An old man said to Tang Jiuqiao. That's right. Those who should be here are already here. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Tang Jiuqiao said. He took a quick glance through the crowd in front of him. There were nearly 30 people and every one of them had a strong disposition. Everyone, I believe you all know clearly that I have issued a mission in the underworld to look for 4 bodyguards for my daughter. The period shall be for 2 months. After 2 months, I will reward each of you with $500 million. Now, I need to select 4 people from you guys. The selection process will be simple. The strongest 4 will be chosen. Does anyone have any objections? No. The crowd of half-step to inborn experts nodded their heads. Some of them were gloomy after catching sight of the 4 heavenly blades. Those who believe they are stronger, please step to your right. Anyone can challenge them, but please don't take anything personally, the scarred old man, who was beside Tang Jiuqiao, remarked at this moment. He looked across the crowd and started emitting an aura. Inborn expert. The crowd was astonished. They looked at the old man in awe and nodded, that's a given. In the underworld, the strong rule. That's right. In the underworld, the strong rule. After a peal of loud laughter, 4 men walked towards the right. Waving their arms, they held the blades in their hands and their eyes gleamed with arrogance. We are the 4 heavenly blades and we will be taking these 4 slots, the middle-aged man in the middle of the group announced. 4 heavenly blades. The crowd looked at the 4 men who walked out straightway and their expressions were gloomy. Some of their eyes were flickering. 4 heavenly blades? Tang Jiuqiao and the old man beside him looked over. They were surprised but gradually revealed smiles. The beautiful lady who was carrying the zither looked at the 4 heavenly blades and she nodded her head slightly in approval. Clearly, they had heard of the 4 heavenly blades. They were the pinnacle among half-step to inborn experts. This mission is mainly for protection and isn't for the 4 of you to fight together. What's more important is your individual strength. I'd like to challenge. An old man stepped forward and had his eyes fixed on the 4 heavenly blades. That's right. A protection mission wouldn't possibly allow the 4 of you to fight together. Hence, individual strength is the best gauge, a middle-aged man seconded. The 4 heavenly blades were strong together, but once they were separated, the rest weren't necessarily afraid of them. Fine. Even if it is just one of us, you are no match for us. Old man, I'll fight you, one of the 4 heavenly blades said. A middle-aged man stepped forward and showed his curved blade. The next moment, he charged and attacked the old man. The old man roared. He stretched his arms and he had a pair of long metal gloves over them. Mountain-suppressing palm strike. The old man shifted his arm and met the attack from the middle-aged man with his palm. The battle between half-step to inborn experts was not only powerful but also highly destructive. If those around them weren't half-step to inborn experts, they would likely have backed off. Succession heavenly blades. The middle-aged man was ecstatic. Holding the blade with 2 hands, his body turned like a spinning top. The slashes of the blade were incomparably fast and the attacks were relentless. Bam bam bam. In a span of just a second, the curved blade had collided with the palm of the old man over 100 times. What? The old man was flushed and shocked. His opponent's attacks were relentless, pushing him back constantly. Bam! Scram! The middle-aged man shouted loudly as he came down hard with his last strike. The old man was knocked back directly. Splash! The old man fell into the pond, sending up a huge splash of water. What fast swordsmanship! How swift and horrifying! The attacks were relentless. If the 4 of them combined forces, wouldn't they be just like a meat grinder? Such horrifying swordsmanship combined with agile movements. It's no surprise that they managed to kill an inborn expert. That's simply too strong. The half-step to inborn experts in the crowd looked at the 4 heavenly blades in awe. At that moment, the atmosphere seemed to have been frozen. No one dared to step forward. With the previous display of strength that seemed invincible amongst the half-step to inborn experts, no one seemed daring enough to launch a challenge. Ha, who else? The four heavenly blades looked at the crowd and lifted their heads proudly. The four released their aura at the same time and shrouded everyone in it. The combined pressure imposed by the four men was shockingly on par with an inborn expert. Once again, they had managed to impress the crowd as a gloomy atmosphere shrouded the crowd. Don't forget about the three of us. We will be taking 3 slots then. An emotionless voice broke the silence of the room. Chapter 271, Everyone here is trash. We'll be taking 3 slots then. An emotionless voice resounded through the open space. Wang Xian, Mo Qinglong, and Mo Yuan were striding to the right with beaming faces. Her? The 3 of them? The voice cut the silence in the courtyard of the villa. All the half-step to inborn experts were slightly taken aback as they looked over doubtfully. 3 slots for you. The 4 heavenly blades turned to the trio with arrogance on their faces. They revealed a hint of sarcasm. You don't take the slots. You fight for them with your own strength. There's a lad among them. If you want 3 slots, you should get on your knees and beg us for it. The 4 of them mocked the trio, especially when they saw Wang Xian. How dare a lad ask them for a slot? Hee, beg you guys. You better scram. Mo Yuan cast his icy cold gaze at the 4 heavenly blades. With a swift movement, he attacked them directly. He did not exhibit his imposing demeanor as an inborn expert. Nor did he fully display the strength of an inborn expert. Seeking your own death. Upon seeing Mo Yuan's assault, one of the middle-aged men of the heavenly blade's eyes were cold. He picked up his machete, slashing away. Mo Yuan had no expression. He reached out his hands slowly with his palms opened with glimmering dragon scales. Hoo-hoo! With creepy body movements and serial wielding of blades, the middle-aged man of heavenly blades struck ferociously again. An air-rending sound was heard. The surrounding spectators wore grave expressions as they witnessed the middle-aged heavenly blade man's assault. One after another swift and non-stop slashes. No one could react in time. That middle-aged man is blocking with his palms. What? Isn't that a suicide move? His palm could be hacked in a single move. The people were astonished by Mo Yuan as he received the blades with his bare palm. Receiving the heavenly blade with a bare palm? That was as good as suicide. Bam, bam, bam. However, what amazed everyone was the sound of a metal collision that kept coming through. Mo Yuan's palms continued to slam against the machete, and his speed was even faster than it. But a weapon was, after all, a weapon. The 4 heavenly blades had not reached the stage where they could wield their weapons just like parts of their bodies. Wielding weapons was greatly different from using the limbs. Bam, bam, bam. At this time, Mo Yuan was so fast that the machete could not keep up with it. He struck his palms on the body of middle-aged heavenly blade man. The forceful impact caused him to spit out mouthfuls of blood. Puke. He had a drastic change in his expression as he staggered back with eyes full of fear. 3 of you can strike together. Mo Yuan was expressionless. He did not feel anything about defeating the middle-aged heavenly blade man. After all, he was an inborn expert, and he was concealing his cultivation level. Hence, there was nothing to brag about. Seeking your own death. The remaining 3 middle-aged heavenly blades saw Mo Yuan charging at him, and they were infuriated at once. None of them hesitated. They picked up the machetes uniformly and slashed at Mo Yuan. Let's stay harmonious. An old inborn expert standing beside Tang Jiuqiao reminded them when he saw 3 of them striking together. He's too cocky. How dare he challenge the other 3 heavenly blades? That middle-aged man has a formidable physical body that can actually block the offense of the heavenly blades. The combined force of the three of them was on a totally different level as compared to a solo attack. Gosh, look! The frequency of their strikes matches each other perfectly. That is to say, each one of them will attack 3 to 4 times at the middle-aged man in a second. Even inborn experts have to handle such intensive blade moves carefully. Scary. This is the 4 heavenly blades forte. Seamless serial attacks. No wonder they could kill an inborn expert. Mo Yuan remained unwavering. He jerked his arm, darting out towards one of them. Slash! 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 I don't believe you can defend against our full blow. Upon seeing Mo Yuan focusing his attack on one person, the 3 middle-aged heavenly blades switched their techniques, bringing their machetes from the top with tremendous force. Like a crescent moon, their machetes were smeared with cold radiance. So what if I did? Mo Yuan's expression remained unmoved as he quickly raised his arm to block the machetes. Bam, bam, bam. 3 machetes slashed Mo Yuan's arm, and the imposing force field caused rings of ripples in the pool next to them. What? How is this possible? Everyone around them drew a cold breath as soon as they witnessed it. Even the 3 heavenly blades were stunned, with a hint of horror in their pupils. That physique is formidable. It's absolutely invincible. That's just scary. With such a physical body, I don't think he would get hurt from bombings either. Mo Yuan looked at the 3 middle-aged men impassively. He swung both his arms and assaulted 2 of them. Bam! The 2 of them were unable to react in time. Both got a hit in their chests. They staggered about a dozen steps back with trembling bodies. Do you want to continue? Mo Yuan threw an emotionless gaze at the last middle-aged man and asked nonchalantly. Gulp. That middle-aged man swallowed his saliva with horror in his eyes. Slowly, he shook his head. I want all 3 slots. If anyone is unhappy about this, you'll have to defeat me first, said Mo Yuan without a doubt as he swept his overbearing gaze across everyone. Tang Jiuqiao, Tang Yinxian and the old man beside them were looking doubtful, but they did not refute him. With such an expert around, it did not matter, even the other 2 were weaker. He was domineering and was almost on par with an inborn expert. Is there any half-step to inborn expert that is as strong as him? He must be practicing some unique cultivation techniques. Even without unblocking his conception vessel and governing vessel, his physical body is as good as an inborn expert. Everyone gulped. He was so strong that he could beat the 4 heavenly blades easily, even when 3 of them combined their power. He was really invincible among half-step to inborn experts. Invincible among half-step inborn experts. Invincible. He's invincible. Everyone was aghast at the prowess exhibited by Mo Yuan, and none of them had the desire to battle. Dominating. Not bad. You're impressive and almost invincible in the world. Suddenly, everyone heard a praising voice. But 3 is too much. You can take 1 at most. An old man spoke casually from a corner of a crowd. Beside him stood 2 middle-aged men. With his chin lifted up, the middle-aged man looked prideful. They looked at everyone. We also want 3 slots. They swept their gazes across Wang Xian and the rest and eventually halted, looking everyone. Honestly, everyone here is trash. As he spoke, the old man beside him was serene looking.